Welcome, Spiritual Melee. How are you this evening? Welcome, everybody, to Hanz of Harkir panel. We are going to discuss the Insurrection January 6th committee and the downfall/lawsuit of sexual harassment against Blizzard that's been going around, and also the possibility of unions in the entertainment space and the gaming space. So I'm going to go live with everybody else. So here we go.
Yes,
You're good,
we
buddy.
see you now.
Okay.
Hey,
Cool. Nice.
how's
And
everybody
then,
doing tonight?
Good. 1 second. Let me just there you go. Yep.
How are my levels,
Dylan
Melee?
is
Is everybody
deafened,
coming in good?
so-
yeah, he's probably doing
Hey,
something with his chat.
thank you
God
for the
damn it, Dylan.
host. I appreciate it, Melee. Thank you. You're amazing.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Because he was on.
How
Like,
are
I
my
literally
levels?
saw
My
him,
sound
like,
levels
5
good?
seconds ago.
Can you hear the
He just,
panel
disappeared.
okay? Can you hear me okay?
What the hell is happening in there? Like,
I want to be a little bit louder than them, hopefully. But if not, hopefully it's good to go.
Blah blah blah. 6. But committee Blizzard stuff. Station. Oh, sorry about that, everybody. All right. Dylan, once you figure yourself out, just damn it, Dylan. Oh, I mean, no, he's here. He's just deafened, which means he can't hear us. 1 second. All right, I'm gonna sound. Okay. Unprofessional. Absolutely ridiculous. Some people at this time. Don't worry about it. Oh, God. Thank you all so much for being here, with the exception of Dylan, who clearly is still working some stuff out. But yeah, thank you all for joining us. I'm excited for tonight's conversation. I'm excited everyone for being here. I hope everyone did all their research so we can have a productive conversation as opposed to just screaming at each other. I mean, like that's fine. If we want to turn this into a shitstorm, you'll probably find that my panel is not the place to do it. But regardless. Thank y'all so much for that. And then, 1 second. Where's everyone at?
Are we?
Right.
We're just waiting on Dylan. Do we have a minute to use the restroom or what?
Oh yeah, yeah. While we're waiting on Dylan, feel free to grab water, use the bathroom, anything you need. We normally do like topic 1. It'll go for like an hour to hour and a half, and then we take like a 5-minute break. Then we do the next topic. So.
Okay, cool.
Unless you're an old man like me who has to go to the bathroom, you know.
True. There wasn't any sources for the first topic, so
No one shared any. I hope you just all watched the hearings. I was
I mean, I could have posted a YouTube video of the hearings if you wanted me to post that.
That's okay. That's on me for we actually planned this well in advance, but we just never made the group until the very end, and then there was issues getting everyone in.
Yeah, you're gonna get the invite tomorrow. Don't worry. 2 days later. Oh, here it is, the day before the panel.
Hey! I'm just not trying to throw shade out, but my producers guys gotta.
Wow, way to throw him under the bus, Hans.
Oh,
way to throw him under that bus.
Oh yeah, you know it. Because Hans never makes mistakes. Only other people make mistakes. Failing is for other people. I never do that. Never ever. All right. Oh, he's back.
He had to get the crown. That's what it was.
Oh my gosh.
Let the memes begin,
props?
boys. Let the memes begin.
Are we doing props? I've got props.
Where's my scythe? I need my scythe.
Bum, 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 bum. And then I linked the last plug in the Discord for that one. And then the bum, 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 bum. All right. Cool. Got everyone good. Oh, I'm so happy. I got Pocky for the first time today. We went to a store and there was this international section, and it's like the anime snack. They're little chocolate covered cookie sticks. I've never had them before. They're really nice. I also never really give myself chocolate because I'm addicted, but like it's so good. I wasn't ready.
You need a salty Pocky.
There wasn't any salt. There wasn't any like salty, like the Pretz. It was only chocolate and
No, no.
strawberry, and I got both.
Like a dark chocolate with salt.
Ooh, that sounds nice.
Is that Montreal? Did you change your name?
No.
Oh, it looks like you got a
No.
twin. You got a twin brother, dude, on this platform. Then
No. Wow.
Who's
Let the memes
Montreal?
begin.
Montreal player.
I don't know who he is, but
He's usually in CTV's community quite a bit.
oh, is he
Oh,
is he is he
I don't
better or
mean it
worse
as
looking than you?
I don't mean it as an insult or anything like that. He's a nice guy.
He's a crypto head. That's basically, Bitcoin.
Oh,
BT.
when you said crypto, I was just like crypto fascist.
Oh,
like
no,
crypto,
no.
like
Oh,
like
sorry.
there's a lot of different meanings of crypto. Like
Oh God.
No, ain't cryptocurrency.
okay,
Yeah.
less exciting but probably more palatable. Like
I like cryptozoology personally.
oh,
Bigfoot.
yeah,
Yeah,
cryptid stuff.
hell
That's
yeah.
so fun.
We're
I like all
talking,
those.
wait, we're talking about like what astrozoology and the like what you could explore with that kind of thing.
My gosh. All right.
Wherever the road takes you.
In the interest of being a good taskmaster, now
Stop
that everyone's
stuffing
here.
your face, Hans. Jeez.
Okay,
I'm
I
I'm
need
trying to have a
fucking hungry
professional
right now.
panel here. What are you thinking?
I'm really sorry. I need all the energy I can get. I'm going for my deadlift max tomorrow. It's gonna be big, so I need all the energy, all that sugar, all that glycogen in my blood. But now that we're all here, I don't want to waste any of your time, and I don't want to waste any of the audience's time. So let's get started. We're gonna go around really quickly, and everyone can introduce themselves, and then I will read the rules, read the first topic, and then we will go into the panel. So we'll start on the upper left with I'm really important, into Dylan, into Sprout, into Biggs, into Tiberius, into Carl.
Okay, cool. So I go by I'm really important. I've been streaming politics on Twitch for about 3 years, and I mostly focus on Congress, what's going on in the House and the Senate.
Barry will
And
come
we
later,
watch a lot
guys.
of C-SPAN on my channel. Try to
down.
stay optimistic,
Of course, there goes
positive. There's a lot of
Dylan's
good
back.
stuff going on in politics, and yeah, I'm excited to be here and chat with some people that may have different opinions than me. So thanks for the invite.
Thanks so much for being here. Dylan.
My name is Dylan Burns. I am the coastal elitist that Trump warned you about. I'm better than you because I read book, and I live near water. That's how it works. Sorry to tell you. I work in local politics. I also do internet debate stuff, and yeah, that's basically it. If you don't know who I am by now, it's probably because you were just so blinded by how bright my future was. So put on some glasses like I have now, and hopefully next time you'll be able to see me.
Thanks, Dylan. All right, now with the freshest cut on the panel, Sprout, how you doing?
Doing all right. I'm the Sprouticus. You can find me underneath that name on Twitch and Twitter. I'm a constitutionalist conservative. I'm excited to talk about the first topic. That's gonna spark some things, I'm sure. But I'm excited to have hopefully some constructive conversation instead of just yelling about January 6th, so we can actually talk about it. Excited.
Oh yeah, thanks for being here. Biggs.
Yeah, I'm Biggs. I am a right-leaning center libertarian. I try to focus on real solutions to real problems, not so much the rhetorical and rhetoric. I like to find out what people really think and try to find out, once we get that, what we can do about those problems and how we can solve them. And I just want to thank Hanz for having me on, and I want to thank all the other panelists for coming on. It's great to engage with you all, and I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Hell yeah. Ty.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Tiberius D. I am some form of right winger. We're trying to figure that out. Hell, 8 Values doesn't even know where to place me. But as far as what's that's concerned, is my content is geopolitics, some open panel stuff, and then reviews on like movies and or TV shows and whatnot. So there's plenty of stuff for me if you want to check out. Like plenty of stuff for everybody. But yeah, I'm just gonna keep it short, keep it brief, and we'll keep it rolling along. Thank you.
Thanks, Tiberius. Carl or YesTV, how would you prefer us all call you?
Carl.
Why don't you call me Carl? He, him, they, them. Either of those pronoun sets is great. I'm a minarchist. I guess I might as well come out and say minarchism is pretty much where I'm at. I like anarchy as a principle, but I also think that, hey, markets are not the worst thing ever. Probably because I work in video games, I'm familiar with like player entitlement compensation systems, and I also organize with Seattle DSA. I live near the other water, and I've also taken part in the Seattle protests, though I wasn't carted off to jail.
The panel volume's a little
I
low.
guess
Okay,
I
I'll turn it
didn't
up.
really go
Carl's
hard.
is really low too, actually.
I
think.
do have a
So,
history, a
turn
long,
it
long
up.
history in the games
Is that better?
scene, and both
I turned
at Riot
Carl all the
Games
way
and
up,
Blizzard
but he's
Entertainment,
really
so,
low on my end too.
very, very
So let me know how the
close
next
to the
person
bone
is.
what has been revealed in the last few weeks.
Excellent. And thank you so much for being here with us as an industry expert for topic 2. Really excited to dig into that once we get through January 6th. So I'm just going to rearrange everyone really quick to have lefties on top, righties on the bottom, just for the purpose of organization. So now, everybody, I am Hanz of Harkir. Thank you all so much for being here with me. I am a classic, market socialist, suck them kind of guy.
Yeah, I turned them all the way up on Discord.
News
So
from super centrist, annoying sources like Washington Post, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Economist, that sort of thing. We normally go through them. And then I also play a lot of Pokemon. I am the best and biggest Pokemon player on left Twitch. Sorry, Gappy, I am better than you at all Pokemon games. So thank you all so much. And I host a panel every Saturday, which is what we're doing right now. So great. Thank you all for being here with me. I'm going to read the rules of the conversation. My panels are structured a bit different than any other panels on Twitter. All respect to Dylan and less respect to Prime. So we're going to go through the discussion format. So first, every person gets a 1-minute intro and outro for each topic for closing statements. If one person, like to say the first person goes over and I don't want to cut them off, I will just give that same amount of time. Say like if I start with I'm really important and he goes for 90 seconds, I'll just give everyone else 90 seconds to make sure that it's fair and everyone gets their fair shake. After we get through everyone, once the last person starts their opening statement, you're allowed to start raising your hands. I will put your name on a list. You'll go down the list, and every person can speak in accordance with their place on the list. Gish galloping is bad and dumb and makes it impossible to have a conversation. Part of why we have 6 people as opposed to 8 people is so we can hopefully facilitate a better dialogue than some other panels. So I would prefer if you keep your speaking time to under 2 minutes at a time unless otherwise specified. At 90 seconds, when you have 30 seconds remaining, I will give you this motion to tell you that you have 30 seconds left. After that, when there's 10 seconds remaining, I'll start doing this again. And then at 2 minutes, I'll tell you to finish your sentence, and then I'll just cut you off if you keep going.
Damn chair.
Interruptions. Please don't interrupt someone while they're speaking. I would very much appreciate that. If you want to get in with either a contention or a correction, just a quick response after they finish talking, and I'll give it to you while it's like while I'm throwing it to the next person. Just say that. I'll give it to you. You guys can have it back and forth. So try and keep those to corrections, to quick responses or questions that can help fulfill that. Don't wait like 10 minutes until it's your turn to talk to say like, oh, Sprout, you said something that I disagreed with 10 minutes ago. It like disrupts the flow of the conversation and makes it more frustrating for everyone, including the audience. Last 2 things. If someone calls you out by name, so someone says like, I'm really important, made a really dumb point, he's allowed to respond, and I normally give you between like say 4 or 5 minutes or however long it takes for that exchange to like get that resolved, and then if it goes too long, I'll start pulling it back to the list. I'm only moderating, so righties have no fear, despite the fact that I am a giant lefty. I promise to be nice and fair to you, and I will not personally participate in the conversation to avoid any issues of power dynamics in terms of me muting people who I disagree with. So, does everyone understand the rules of the conversation?
Yep.
Yes.
Hell yeah. All right. So, our first topic of the evening is the Select Committee on January 6th has brought explosive news and details this week on the riots at the Capitol. Will there be any consequences for any sitting public officials or public discourse? Or will Republicans' unwillingness to support the probe in the first place turn this into a meaningless partisan show? We are going to start with I'm Really Important, then Sprout, then Dylan, then Biggs, then
Carl.
Sorry. Thanks. Like when someone just subbed and like my thing like screams in my ear. That's my fault. Then into Carl, and then finishing with Tiberius. And then for closing statements, we're gonna go in the opposite direction because if I'm Really Important gets the first word and everyone gets to respond to him, he should also get the last word, being able to respond to everyone who attacked him. So, with all that in mind, I'm Really Important. 1 minute on the clock, but if you have to go over, just realize that I'll give everyone else the same amount of time. Feel free to go ahead, buddy.
Okay, well, I'm really impressed with the first hearing on Tuesday for the Select Committee. I thought Democrats did a great job, and the two Republicans on there did a wonderful job as well in showing bipartisanship, showing what a committee can be like without the theatrics that we usually see from our friends over on the right. So that was a breath of fresh air. As far as is anybody going to be held accountable? I don't know, and I hope not. I hope none of our elected officials were involved in aiding and abetting these criminals like Ashley Babbitt that broke in and tried to lunge at our lawmakers. And but this
Oh, man,
committee
coming in
is
hot
going to get to
already.
the bottom of it because they're going to look into the why. All other investigations, such as the Senate, the architect of the Capitol, these people have been looking into the how. How did these people break through? How did they get inside that building? We already know that stuff. We need to know why. And that's exactly what this committee is going to do.
Thank you. I'm important. Like, actually, I was like 1 minute on the dot. That's fucking crazy. Awesome. All right, Sprout. 1 minute. Go ahead, buddy.
All right. So this this committee is political grandstanding. That's what it's been from the beginning. There's a reason that the Speaker of the House decided to decline 2 Republicans from the committee, which has never been done before in United States history. No other Speaker of the House has declined the minorities' rights to put people that they choose onto the committee. And ever since then, she's just shown that this committee is going to be political grandstanding. It's going to be something to say Orange Man is bad until they decide that it's no longer good for the Democrats to say Orange Man bad. So we'll see how long this takes for them to understand that Orange Man bad isn't going to work out very well for them. But that's all this is Orange Man bad.
All right, thank you, Sprout. Dylan?
So I will say, sadly, IRI, I think you might already be wrong because we've already found out that Representative Mo Brooks knew that it was going to be violent beforehand and was wearing body armor the day of the speech on stage while making the speech. Now, personally, when I go to the pet store to get some kibble or whatever the hell I'm doing with my Sundays or Saturdays or Friday afternoons, I don't wear body armor. Currently, I'm wearing body armor on this stream because I know it might get a little messy, but usually I don't. I would also like to say that we made an offer for a commission. We were like, fine, let's have a commission. Let's have a bipartisan commission. And it failed. And like usual, the Democrats have to keep going and get the work done while the Republicans drag their feet. We had to do it when it comes to the American Rescue Plan, which helped cut child poverty in half. We had to do it when it comes to all these other things. And that's what we got to do with this as well. I was there on January 6th. I saw what happened. I saw how violent it got. I saw people try to overthrow the results of a democratic election. And I'm happy that we're finally getting an investigation of it with the people who were there. Definitely, I think the first example of it this a few days ago was a good example of trying to hold the public to account when it comes to knowing what happened.
Thank you, Dylan. All right, Biggs.
All right, so I do agree with Sprout a little bit, where it was kind of a sham from the start. But I think that both Dylan and IRI both brought up 2 very good points. IRI, you brought up about the why. I want to know why we weren't prepared, especially after Dylan's point, which was that there was somebody's wearing body armor, one of the representatives. They knew months, weeks, if not months in advance that there was something going to happen. Why were they not better prepared? Are we going to get that actual truth out? I don't think so. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff that have already seen, that there was stuff that's going to refuse to let out, information, documents, people refusing to get those to the public. So I think that's going to be the biggest issue. We're not going to get the truth about this. It's going to be all about pointing fingers on both sides. I think both the Republicans and the Democrats are just going to point fingers, and it's going to be a complete sham and a complete S show. So that's my take.
Thank you, Biggs. Carl?
Yeah, so it's really funny and not no dishonor to anyone on this panel, but I have seen in the media the Law and Order types have completely flipped the script. They're crying about the improvised jail that all these people were thrown in, and this is basically you fuck around, you find out. I know because I was trained by 350 Seattle, by other activist organizations, what to expect in real life situation like this where you're going against the police. You're literally pushing your way into a situation that into a space that you are not regularly allowed. This happens a lot with congressional hearings. This happens a lot with, trying to shut down banks that are funding the fossil fuel industry. And so we come prepared. Leftists know how to fuck around. We have jail support. And so when people get thrown in jail, there's a way of getting in contact with. Maybe it was just that the right had no idea what the fuck they were doing. And so they all of a sudden were shocked by the harshness of the carceral system. That's really sad. And I hope that those people get the support they need. But
Interesting point, but I don't think
let
it
the
has anything to do with the
investigations
topic at
roll
hand.
on. Another thing about that, I've been seeing obstruction from the GOP over the last 2 decades. And really, I don't think we should be paying so much attention to this. The Democrats should move on and govern. They should dismantle the filibuster,
with that.
repair our democracy, and build back better. Let's
Build back
anarcho-Bidenism. Let's go.
Batter. Build back
Thank
batter.
you, Carl. All right, everybody. Tiberius is the last opening statement. So after this, we're going to move into the general discussion. So at any point during this, feel free to start raising your hand so we can put you on the list. If you're not on the list, please don't break out and start screaming or anything like that. It ruins the flow of conversation. It makes it impossible to hopefully have a cordial discussion on this. So Tiberius, 1 minute, buddy. Go ahead. Anyone who wants to start getting in on
Hey,
the general,
computer,
start
what's up?
raising your hands.
All right, appreciate it. So I'm looking at this in a very fortunate manner. The Republican Party is not going to play
Everybody
ball with
throw up their
this. There's nothing within the right or the Republicans that makes people go, yeah, they're wanting to kind of offer up any kind of bipartisanship and actually move forward with this. This is
When
going
I
to
go
be a
get my next
partisan
beer, I'll get
slugfest, and it's
Barry.
going to be the
It's
responsibility of
Barry,
the Republican Party solely.
B-A-R-R-Y, not B-E-A-R-Y.
I don't know if the Democrats are actually going to be able to make that into political hay. I'm sure in some ways they will. But the reality of this is that anything that comes from the investigation is largely going to have to be chucked up to state or local authorities, federal or state authorities to press charges. And if it's anyone that is within the House of Representatives that is in any way responsible, that is a dead stick that is going nowhere because you're not going to get a Senate conviction out of them. That's what it will be. It will be a political circus. And unfortunately, the right wing will not hang their own. That's really all this will come down to. So yeah, as far as where I am is that we have
That's
a perfect opportunity here on the right to clean house, but we're not going to fucking do it because we think that we're on a sinking ship and we can't move forward and it sucks. But that's my intro.
All right, thank you, Tiberius. And then just a last thing, I forgot to say this during the rule thing. Once you raise your hand, I will give you a thumbs up, just to let you know that I've seen you. So don't worry about that. If you're already on the list, raising your hand more than once won't help. You can only be on the list one time. So with that in mind, right now we have Sprout. Then I'm really important. Then Dylan for the list. So Sprout, 2 minutes, buddy. Go ahead.
Okay. So going back to what Carl said, Carl was talking about how the right has gone to against law and order. I think it's almost the exact opposite. The right has continuously said the FBI is arresting these people, the FBI is taking care of the situation, and we don't need a political grandstanding show for the left to continue to say Orange Man bad as long as they would like. And that's something to go against Carl. I see this has turned into a 2v4 instead of a 3v3. Which should be interesting, but this is going to be political grandstanding. Nancy Pelosi said that. I mean, she practically said that when she declined 2 of the Republicans' choices to join the committee. Like I said before, this has never happened in U.S. history prior to this. This is unprecedented. And she's making this step, and by making this step, you prove that the only thing this committee is political grandstanding. That you don't want someone there who's going to ask the hard questions. It's going to ask why Nancy Pelosi's sergeant at arms didn't have the National Guard ready on standby, like the Senate sergeant at arms requested the House sergeant at arms request. But the House sergeant at arms said that wasn't needed, etc., and so on. And they knew this information prior. Why wasn't this done? And these are the hard questions that were going to be asked by the 2 people that were kicked off by Nancy Pelosi, and she just essentially showed that this is political grandstanding and nothing more than that.
All right, thank
Respond.
you. Go ahead and Sprout. 1 second before you do that. Sorry, Sprout. I'm sorry. I got 3 conservatives and 3 lefties. I'm sorry that one of the conservatives is jumping ship on this one.
I'm
didn't
sorry
do that.
too.
I promise that you will be able to that you'll have more time to respond because of the nature of it being a 4v2. All right. I'm not going to let you be like a shout it down because of this. I want you to know this is a fair and open environment for all of you. So Carl was directly added, so you're welcome to respond. Then we're gonna go to I'm really important.
Super easy. This is so easy. If your position is that law and order is what's actually happening, well, then you shouldn't obstruct anymore. Respectability politics is over. We're done hearing the boy who cried wolf, the boy who cried wolf every time they cry about how Democrats try to actually govern whenever the GOP gets back into power. So it's time to move on.
I was accused of obstructing. Can I have a reply?
Yeah, you can have a small back and forth. Go ahead.
Okay. So I don't know how in the world I'm obstructing. I'm not stopping the FBI from going out there making arrests. I'm not stopping the FBI from getting information. I'm not stopping the FBI from doing anything. All I'm saying is that this committee is political grandstanding, and I'm going to let everyone know that that's what this is. They already know they're going to lose the House and Senate in 2022, and they're trying to grasp at every straw they possibly can to try and not let that happen. They can't lose the House in 2022. Politically, it would be a failure because Biden wouldn't be able to get anything done. So they're just going to continue to say orange man bad. They're going to political grandstand in hopes that this will win them 2022.
All right. Thank you, Sprout. Finish your point, and then we're going to throw it to I'm really important.
I think you might have a case if there were 0 Republicans on the other side, but we've got 2. We will see by their behavior and now how they collaborate in this process whether or not it's actual grandstanding.
Yeah, Luder, I think it's going to be a shit show either way. The commission
I'm really important. Go ahead.
This one will be going to be a shit show.
I find it troubling trying to blame Nancy Pelosi, but you never hear anything about Mitch McConnell, who was in charge of the other side of the Capitol. It's all Nancy's fault when her job, her relation to the Sergeant of Arms is to appoint somebody for a 4-person panel who oversees security of the Capitol. So I don't know why people are just blaming Nancy Pelosi. I mean, boogeyman, you got to blame someone. But as far as the FBI doing an investigation, the FBI is not going to look into why. The FBI is not going to look into what went wrong in your childhood to figure out why you committed those crimes. We want to figure out why our fellow citizens were sent on a suicide mission into the Capitol complex. How did 500 of my fellow Americans become so disillusioned and so hypnotized by something that they stormed into our Capitol first time in 200 years? I think we have a right to know that. It's like saying we found out Jim Jones, the massacre, that those people, they died from drinking Kool-Aid and cyanide and leaving it there and not figuring out why. What led people to do that? So that's the mission we're on, and I would hope that people like Sprouticus and my fellow, the other right-wingers, support this mission.
Sprout, you can have a brief response before we throw it to Dylan.
Okay. So with... You went on saying that why are we talking about Mitch McConnell? The funny thing is I already talked about Mitch McConnell and who his representative is in that council that you're referring to. Mitch McConnell's representative in that council would have been the Senate Sergeant at Arms. The Senate Sergeant of Arms requested the House Sergeant of Arms request the National Guard to quietly be on standby just in case this happens. The House Sergeant of Arms decided that wasn't a good idea, did not request the National Guard to quietly be on standby in case something happens. And Nancy Pelosi is directly in charge of the House Sergeant of Arms. So you're gonna go on this whole Mitch McConnell thing. I already addressed that situation.
Can I just respond real quick, Hans?
Yeah, go ahead.
So the House Sergeant of Arms was actually appointed by John Boehner. He wasn't hired by Nancy Pelosi. He's been there for a while. So a Republican put that guy in charge, not Nancy Pelosi. Who does he report to? They don't. They have a board, and they just let the elected officials know what they're thinking about. And by the way, the National Guard troops that were discussed were 150 National Guard members to direct traffic. That's it, dude.
Sprout, you get one last word, then we'll throw it to Dylan.
Honestly, I don't know that it was 150 National Guard troops to direct traffic. I'm gonna look up some sources. I might post them in chat. But I'll reserve my time for when my hand was raised.
All right, thank you, Sprout. So right now the list is Dylan, Tiberius, Carl, Sprout, and then Biggs. And like Sprout said, if you do find a source that you want to use for this, please just throw it in chat to give people a time to read it while you're saying it. So that way, no one's giving like a Breitbart source or like if you're a righty, like a Jacobin source and like pretending that it's like something like
it's definitely
like
partisan for sure. But what I think the issue here is we're not giving any real answers.
The first thing I want to say is that when it comes to the FBI doing their job, they are. But we need to do our job in giving the honest portrayal of events to the American people about representatives that could have been involved. Not only did Representative Mo Brooks admit that he knew that there was something going to go down beforehand while also wearing body armor, but that the event he was wearing body armor because he was fearful it could get violent, he's had rhetoric like fight like hell and take names. So if you believe an event could get violent, right, that doesn't mean you can't technically speak there, but I'd be a little maybe reserved for the type of rhetoric I'm going to use. If I see an area is contentious, I'm not going to get up there like, let's fucking take it to these Republicans, because I know something might incite something. I also want to bring up the fact that the extremism report that was unclassified from the FBI in February of this month made it clear that the biggest threat to the United States was right-wing militia groups and white supremacists. By the way, who was very active at the Capitol on January 6th? The Three Percenters and the Oath Keepers. Far-right militias were very active, many of which did a lot of pre-planning stages that we're getting to see more and more of these days. And when it comes to this being partisan, Republicans made it partisan. They would not agree to a commission. Therefore, we made a committee because they wanted to ignore it because the Republicans knew there's no good way to spin this. There isn't. That's why we had people like Kelly Loeffler jumping ship last second. That's why we had Mitch McConnell, all these people. When the whole country was looking at it, the whole world was looking at it, everyone fucking jumped ship except for pedophiles like Matt Gaetz, right? So, I'm going to be honest here. It's not a great look. And the reason why it's partisan is because you guys made it partisan. I'm sorry. And that's some of what I said. That's about half of what I wrote down. I'll wrap it up, though, because I said a lot.
No worries. Thank you, Dylan. Also, Sprout, thank you for the source. Just everyone, if you're putting sources, please put them in the Discord.
One last thing.
Go ahead.
It's a 4v2 because the vast majority of the American people want the truth.
All right. Okay. Like dunk achieved. So just to quickly, Sprout, thank you for your source. Everyone, please, if you have sources and stuff, or you like have something to like say, like to like the group that you don't want like everyone to see, please type it in Discord, not in the whereby. If you do it in the whereby, it pops up on the screen, and I don't want any like thing that someone says or spicy that should not be public being made public. So just for everyone's benefit here. So Tiberius, go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, as far as me going defector here and making this a 4v2, no, it is a 3v3. The thing about this is that Republicans and Republican supporters, people who went into the Capitol, had fucking MAGA flags, Trump 2020, all this other shit. This was our side of the aisle who did this shit, okay? And when it's our side, it's our responsibility. We shouldn't even have Democrats on this committee. We should be leading the charge in headhunting the people who fucking did this, because we look like jackasses to the American people. And I don't know how anyone on the right now sleeps at night whenever it's just like, oh, well, the security forces weren't there, or this, that, or this and that.
God.
I'm fucking over it. I am absolutely fucking over it. This was our side, it was our supporters, and we need to hang these fuckers out to dry to show them that it's not the majority of the right. It's a small fringe who's been way too active and way too loud, and they need to be put in a box and told to shut the fuck up and sit the hell down. But instead, we have people like Donald Trump and fucking pretty much the entire Republican Congressional Committee holding hands with psychopaths like MTG. No, we need to offboard these fucking crazy people before we look like dumbasses to the entire American people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tiberius. We're going to go to Carl, then Sprout, then Biggs.
I got nothing. I'm going to do a quick audio check because someone said that my volume is low.
You're good.
It's better now. It's better now.
We can hear you pretty well. If you had a... Okay.
Yeah, so I guess the big point really is I gotta agree with Dylan and Tiberius. I'm just gonna be repeating myself. Move on, govern. We knew that this was going to happen with a Trump presidency. We knew that it was going to be responding to the garbage of the last 4 years. So it just act like you won the election for once.
All right, thank you, Carl. Sprout.
Okay, so I'm gonna go to my source to start this off. The source that I posted in Discord and in Whereby is a source from NPR. This is talking about the former chief of police whistleblowing on what exactly happened. The former chief of police stated that the House Sergeant at Arms Paul Irving was concerned with the optics of declaring an emergency ahead of protests and rejected a National Guard presence. He says Senate Sergeant at Arms Michael Stenger recommended that he informally request the Guard to be ready in case it was needed to maintain security. So what IRI said about this is for traffic, it's not for traffic. not according to the whistleblower, the former chief of police of the DC police, the Capitol Police. It wasn't for traffic. It was to maintain security. And that is what the National Guard was going to be at the ready for. It wasn't going to be about going, you go this way, you park here. It was going to be to maintain security if the National Guard was needed. This was rejected by the House Sergeant at Arms. And the House Sergeant of Arms does report to Nancy Pelosi. I mean, whether you want to say it or not, they do report to Nancy Pelosi, just like the Senate Sergeant at Arms reports to Mitch McConnell, not Mitch McConnell at this point in time. Whoever, I think it's Chuck Schumer, reports to Chuck Schumer. But this is how this works, and you can't really argue it's not. And I'll leave it there.
All right, I'm really important. You're welcome to respond. You guys can have a brief back and forth if you want.
Yeah, my position is not changed. I mean, traffic is part of security, and nothing you read in there says that they weren't
What's
part
up,
of it.
Ghost
You're not
Queen? How
saying
you
anything
doing?
to refute
Good
what
to
I
see you in
said.
here.
And as far as the 4-person panel that decides on security, okay. So if a guy raised his hand, the sergeant of arms in the House, and said, "I think we should have it," and the other, or the guy on the Senate side said, "I think we should have it," and the other guy says, "I don't think it's good," for optics, which, by the way, there's a bit debate over what he meant by optics. That guy actually responded and said by optics, he did not mean in the media. He doesn't care. He was concerned how optics would play out agitating the crowd. That's what he meant by optics. So if you look a little further into this stuff, you start to understand what happened, and it makes a lot more sense. It's a 4-person panel. They get to decide. I want to make a quick point about the bipartisanship. Like Dylan said, we gave you guys a chance. We wanted you guys to be with us, split down the middle. 5 people. But Kevin McCarthy gave a letter with 3 things in that letter in February that said what he wants to make this bipartisan commission. We gave him all 3. And you guys are the party that refuses to take yes for an answer. So that's why we have this committee now, because we got to go our own, and we got to figure this out for all of the American people, not just our side. We don't care. I want to see why my fellow Americans got so wrapped up in this and that they were turned into criminals. That concerns me.
All right, Sprout, you're welcome to respond. And then,
Sorry, go ahead.
Sprout, you can respond, and then I'm really important to get the last word. Then we're going to throw it to Biggs, then IRI for his original statement, Dylan, Carl, and then Tiberius. I see you. So go ahead, you two.
So, like I said, this was to maintain security.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So, even in the military, you don't call security as directing traffic. That's considered detail, not security. So, I mean, traffic duty is not included in security, and for you to try to conflate the two, it seems a little bit off base. But to go further into that, he said recommended that he be informally request the guard to be ready in case it was needed to maintain security. So second off, that wouldn't include traffic, because being ready in case you need to maintain security would not include traffic, because then they would be doing traffic actively, not being ready in case they're needed to maintain security. Third off, the whole entire optics argument you're using, when you said that the optics of making people more agitated if the National Guard was there, or feel like they're being held down, that comes to a point when they were ready in case it was needed to maintain security. The National Guard wouldn't have been presently there. They might have been presently there, but they wouldn't be publicly there. They wouldn't have been in the public. The public eye would not have seen them. They would have been behind the scenes and ready in case it was needed to maintain security.
I'm really important. Welcome to respond, and then we'll throw it to Biggs. And if you have like a main point that's like disconnected from like what Sprout just said, you can save it till after Biggs makes his statement. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm going to let everybody else keep going. My statement was the bipartisan thing, so you can skip me on the list next. But I just want to say to Sprout, I will post in the Discord a link to where you're getting this from, because you're getting this from a Senate hearing where they asked the former Sergeant of Arms in the House what he meant by optics. So I will post that for you. Let's hear from him what he meant by optics, not speculate.
All right. Thank you both. Biggs?
Okay, so I think we're all kind of missing the forest through the trees here with this. I think that everybody on this panel can agree. We want anybody, not only the people that were the civilians on the ground or the actors within the Congress, we want them to be held responsible. What I think everybody's missing here is no matter what type of commission we have, no matter what type of committee we have, it's just going to be theatrics and nobody's going to get held accountable. And I think if you actually think that that's the case, we're actually going to get real truth from this. I think you're either naive or acting in bad faith, because we've seen this time and time again, what the government will do to try to meet its ends, okay? They will protect themselves to the very end if they have to. And that's what's so boggling to me, is we fight so partisanly over this stupid crap, but we don't actually hold the real people accountable, okay? And I know Tiberius had the problem with, like, you know, people saying about the why wasn't there enough security. That is a huge deal. Like, they knew months in advance that there was something going to happen. They knew this, okay? Yet they did nothing. They had bombs planted at the DNC and RNC the day before. This is fucking ridiculous that nothing was done to prevent this. I don't care if it was a Republican. I don't care if it was fucking Trump, and I voted for Trump, right? Whoever was responsible for those failings needs to be held accountable, 100%. And I think everybody on this panel probably agrees with that, even though they're not taking that hard of a stance towards that.
Thank you, Biggs. And I'd like to remind my chat quite quickly, please be respectful to all the different panelists. Don't call them dumb or anything like that. And please, no slurs or anything like that as well. I don't have to deal with that. So we're going to throw to Dylan.
Dumb, come into my chat.
Yeah. If you're going to call, we're going to go to Dylan, and then Carl, and then Tiberius. So go ahead, Dylan.
Okay, so I want to bring up the fact that Spartacus said that the reason Democrats are doing this is because they know they're going to lose in 2022 and 2024, and Republicans know they're going to win. Polling just came out showing that 24% of Republicans think they're going to win. The majority think they're going to lose. And that's because the narrative has been spun that the election system's rigged, so all of them have been demotivated from voting, which I think is kind of backfiring, to be completely honest, while 75% of Democrats have very hopeful ideas about what's going to happen in 2022. I agree with that. I also want to bring out the fact that Trump tried to overturn people in the DOJ.
This is something I'm actually passionate about, so I feel like I can get a little more, into it. Like, some of the panels that I go on, just like, it's stuff I don't care about, but like these two topics especially are kind of in my wheelhouse with what I
January 6th happened is continuing right now. Trump continues to spin these lies about the election fraud. That could cause another January 6th. He's doing it right now. He continues to defend those statements. At any point, he doesn't even need to apologize. He just needs to stop fucking talking, and it would fix the situation. If he just stopped fucking talking, he loses his social media, he loses everything, and even the few pieces of time now where people actually pay attention to him, he still says the same stuff. I also want to bring up the fact that after all this, the Republican Party, the very pro-police Republican Party, the thin blue line Republican Party,
this is one of Dylan's main talking points that he does on his channel over and over
the
again.
Capitol Police Department after what happened. Multiple times they have put for bills and in legislation to defund the Capitol Police Department. I thought the big fear was of Democrats defunding the police. Why would it be this particular police department that was defunded? I'm not saying that this is some grand conspiracy, but it's really weird that after the national tragedy that was January 6th, the one police department Republicans are okay with defunding is the one that struggled to contain insurrectionists on January 6th.
All right, thank you, Dylan. We're going to go to Carl, Tiberius, and then to Sprout.
Muted.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm Boomerang.
For a second.
So thank you for bringing those sources to our attention. I found a few of my own. Dylan's got the really good PDF. It's pretty thick. So I'm going to go with the AP News assessment. Pelosi did not block the National Guard from Capitol on January 6th, and the details that matter, the decision on whether to call the National Guard troops to the Capitol is made by what is known as the Capitol Police Board, which is made up of House Sergeant of Arms, the Senate Sergeant of Arms, and the Architect of the Capitol. That's a 3-person board, 1 Democrat, 1 Republican, 1 neutral. They go on to say that that Pelosi wasn't even notified when they made the decision, and when she was notified, she immediately agreed to that decision. There's a lot of great stuff in these reports. Basically, we find out in this Military Times article, I hope you like that source, Military Times, that it was the Defense Department which denied the request. Not anything to do with the Capitol Police. This was the National Guard being requested, and it was the Department of Defense. So we do need to investigate. We need to find out which officials blocked that request.
All right, thank you, Carl. Also, just a quick question for like the a request for the entire panel. If you post a source for everyone to talk about, please post it in my chat as well, so the audience can follow along if you're quoting it verbatim. We're gonna go to Tiberius, then Sprout, and then Biggs.
I gotcha. To answer IRI's question, because he asked it, and is how did this happen? How do right wingers storm the Capitol? Well, basically, we don't trust.
Everybody just ignores
the
my points
institutions
because
that
they're
we
so
have
good.
anymore. I've been talking
God,
about
I
this
never
in
get
my
any
community for
pushback
quite a
because I'm just
while
so
now
based.
regarding what's been going on. Is that there is a critical lack of faith in our leadership, our institutions, and trust within that. And whenever you have people who are desperate, who have nothing to believe in, they're subject to incredibly violent acts. And we're right wingers. I hate to say this, but whenever we set our minds to do something, whether it's positive or negative, we tend to get it done. And so if it's a negative outcome, I'm scared shitless of what happens when the right wing goes that route. To the security question that's been raised, I'm not going to say you guys might not have a point here, but as far as I'm concerned, I don't really care. Because we say that we're the party of law and order. We say that we actually believe in doing this shit. I'm just going to make it simple. Insurrection is what I expect from fucking Democrats, not Republicans.
Get so angry.
Thank you, Tiberius. We're gonna
Get
throw
so
it to
angry.
Sprout, and then Biggs, and then Carl. Was that raising your hand, or are you just dabbing at us?
I was just dabbing on the Democrats.
He was trying.
insurrecting.
He was trying to make up for his boomer moment with a dab.
There you
Obviously.
go.
Please don't do that again. All right,
Okay.
go Sprout.
So posting it in your chat, I'm going to use IRI's source, which is from the Washington Post. In a February 1 letter to Pelosi, Sund wrote he approached the two sergeant at arms to request the assistance of the National Guard, as I had no authority to do so without an emergency declaration by the Capitol Police Board. He spoke first to Irving, who stated that he was concerned about the optics and didn't feel that the intelligence supported it. Irving suggested Sund check in with Stenger, at the time the chair of the CPB, and get his thoughts. Instead of approving the use of the National
Oh my
Guard,
God,
however,
he's
Mr.
just
Stenger
reading the
suggested
fucking
I
shit.
asked them how quickly we could get
Jesus
support
Christ.
if needed, and to lean forward in case we had to request assistance on January 6th. If you go further down, you hear about the optics argument that's being said. And if I can find that a little bit faster, that would be great. There we go. My use of the word optics has been mischaracterized in the media. Let me be clear. Optics, as portrayed in the media, played no role whatsoever in my decisions about security, and any suggestion to the contrary is false. Safety is always paramount when making security
I
plans for
love
January
Hanz.
6th. Now, what this same person did said that I read earlier,
Oh
this
my God.
same
Wrap it
exact
up.
person
Wrap it up,
suggested
Zach.
that the intelligence did not
Wrap it up like you did in
support
high school. Oh wait,
National
no, you
Guard.
didn't. Sorry.
The intelligence most certainly did support the National Guard. The intelligence that the FBI presumably gave the Capitol Police to the Capitol Police Board. And if they didn't get that information, then I believe the chief would have said so, but it seemed as if they had that information, considering they said the intelligence would support it. So moving forward with the assumption that they had that information, he assumed that the intelligence did not support the National Guard being there, in which so he was incredibly wrong. And going with what Carl said, taking him on his word that the source said that Nancy Pelosi immediately agreed with the decision, then Nancy Pelosi is also kind of at fault for immediately agreeing with the decision.
Hurry up,
that
Zach.
immediately
Jesus
left
Christ.
the Capitol to be the Capitol Police to be ran over, and the Capitol to for people to go into it. So that's using your guys' sources.
Thank you, Sprout. And then, like I said before, the first wheel is just like an indicator that you have 30 seconds left.
I know,
The second
right?
one is to tell you have 10 seconds left, and Sprout finished like pretty much on the dot, so no problem there. Just trying to be distracted by this. I'm not like trying to like make it you like.
We love
like,
you, Hans.
like
Don't worry
freak
about
out,
it.
but, like I'm just letting you know, like, without me.
We
having to
love you. We
scream
love you
in.
with that buff forearm there. Just
like,
like, oh, yeah,
my gosh, like,
flexing.
hey guys, oh yeah, like remember you have only so much time left. All right, Biggs, it's your turn,
Alright,
and
so
that's
I'm
part
gonna-
of your speaking time. Go ahead.
That's fine. I want to do something dangerous here. I want to ask your permission first, Hans. Can I ask just like a quick question to like give everybody like a 10 seconds to respond to like a simple question?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can.
Okay, so-
yeah, go ahead.
All right. So I just want to ask everyone in the panel: do you think that we are going to get anything truthful actually to come out of this committee, and B, anybody actually held accountable? Just simple yes or no, maybe a 10-second response.
No, this will be
Yes.
political grandstanding.
Okay. Tiberius says no.
I say yes. I think we've already gotten a lot of testimony from the 4 police officers in question that showed truthful events that could be shown through
Okay.
video evidence.
And do you think we're going to get any held accountable, Dylan?
Besides like public condemnation, no.
No. Okay. What about Carl?
I'm not sure. I honestly think that we need to call to question some people who were redeployed to the Pacific. I understand there were some generals named Flynn who had a hand in the decisions that were made on
Yeah.
the field, but who knows if we're going to be hearing from them.
And IRI, what about you?
Yes, I do think that we're going to find out the truth. Subpoenas are going to come down like rainfall. And as far as accountability, I mean, that's subjective, right? What does accountability mean, you know?
Well, I just mean, like, is anybody going to get, like, removed from Congress or any, formal
Well, that's-
charges? Do you think? What do you think?
that's-
Like, just your personal, like, feel of it?
Yeah, I don't think any sort of charges will
Okay.
come down, but I do think that the voters will be able to know the
Okay.
truth and be able to make a decision next year.
I was just curious. What about you, Hans? Just, I know you're not a part of it, but what is your personal feeling? I'm just curious.
I'm not allowed to say anything because I'm moderator.
Okay, all
I
right,
wanna
cool.
keep
All right.
that- Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you
yeah.
for letting me do that, Hans. I appreciate it.
No problem. And everyone, like, if you want to raise your hand, I'd prefer if it wasn't like a question for everybody. If you have like a specific question for someone else, you're welcome to raise your hand and ask that. You can use that like as your speaking time, or if you want to like have like a brief dialogue
Yeah,
with somebody.
sorry,
else,
I just
you're
felt
welcome to
like
do
that was one of the
I got one.
questions for the panel, and we just really haven't like got that from anybody yet. So that's why I was kind of trying to. But thank you.
course. Thank you, Biggs. Dylan, don't worry about it. You actually are next, so go ahead.
Sprout, why are you such a nerd?
What do you mean?
Okay.
Please,
now let
no
me get to the-
personal attacks.
It's all right. Let me go into the rest of my thing. Actually.
I'll be right
Okay,
back.
So
I gotta
I
get
do
a
want
beer.
to say that Trump has, for his whole career, defined himself as a fighter. Right? He's a political fighter. He's out there. He's fighting the establishment, and he's had multiple times to go fight in front of Congress and in front of the Senate during either of his impeachments and answer for what he did while in office and before in office. And right now, he has the opportunity to speak before the Select Committee. Do you think he'll be a fighter? Do you think he'll go talk about his words that day and how he texted while they were charging into the Capitol about how bad Mike Pence is while they were chanting "Hang Mike Pence"? Do you think he's going to do that? You think he's going to act like a fighter? Or you think he's going to act like a coward and not do it and hide? Most likely hide. That's the first thing I want to say. I want to talk about what I saw at the Capitol because, I was there, actually. I think I'm the only one here who was actually there. What I saw was people calling for the execution of not only those who disagree with them, not only politicians, but people who just voted differently. Multiple times, people looked me in the face and said, "You voted differently? You're a fucking traitor." And people threatened me with execution. I had slurs thrown at me, and it was extremely painful to have people that are supposed to be my fellow Americans call me the F slur. That's not a good feeling. I saw the media and press get assaulted and get pelted. And you want to know the funny thing about when they were assaulted, why they got attacked? One of the reporters said out loud, "The riot behind us." And they responded with, "This isn't a riot." And then they assaulted them and smashed all their cameras, which I find a little ironic. Now, I want to also talk about what happened about this report and read out what is the biggest domestic terror threat in the United States quickly. And this is from an unclassified report from a few months ago. The IC assesses that racially or ethnically motivated violent extremists, RMVEs, and militia violent extremists, MVEs, present the most lethal DVE, domestic violent extremist threats, with RMVEs most likely to conduct mass casualty attacks against civilians, and MVEs typically targeting law enforcement and government personnel and facilities. The IC assesses that U.S. RMVEs who promote the superiority of the white race are the DVE actors with the most persistent and concerning transnational connections because individuals with similar ideological beliefs exist outside the United States, and these RMVEs frequently communicate with and seek to influence each other. Why do we need to have the Select Committee? Why do we
Barry
need to have
has
these
arrived,
answers,
everybody.
these questions answered? Because the threat of the insurrection never really went away. Trump continues to push the same narrative that caused that insurrection about the election being stolen. Multiple elected people in office continue to push this threat, and with the greatest terror threat being these right-wing extremists who have infiltrated our government, and not only our government, but into our military as well.
Gotta get Barry
and
a
have tried
drink.
to do mass casualty
Otherwise he'll
events,
get angry.
coordinating with neo-Nazi groups and the fucking Al-Qaeda. That's real. That happened in 2016. This is a real threat that needs to be addressed. We need a committee about it.
All right, thank you, Dylan. And I would just like, again, request everyone to try and keep your speaking time under 2 minutes. You were on a bit of a roll, and I didn't want to stop you during your reading of that thing. But
Dylan's
please,
very
in the future,
long-winded.
try and keep it to less than 2 minutes unless specified otherwise. Spartacus, you're welcome to respond him calling you a nerd, but then we're going to throw it to Carl.
First, can I ask for clarification on what he means by that? That way I can fully respond to what he meant.
Nerd, it's like a dork.
Okay. So calling me a nerd, I guess that means I use sources too well. That I turn people's sources against them. I guess I'm just too good of a debater for Dylan. I guess that's where that stands, because
This
I
is
don't know what else it
amazing.
could be referring to.
All right, thank you.
Are you trying to be Jordy, Tiberius? You look kind of like Jordy there.
I was-
Trying to do some TNG.
All right. Thank you, Biggs. Thank you, Sprout and Dylan, for that excellent back and forth of high-level intelligence. We're going to throw it. Also, if you're looking at for a nerd, he's right here. What's up? But we're going to throw it to Carl, then I'm Really Important, then back to Sprout. Yep. So go ahead. Go ahead, Carl.
First, we're going to be comparing nerd cred. I'm sorry, but you ain't got nothing on me, Sprout. And I'm going to prove it because I'm going to use the source that you tried to use against us, against you. You read the whole part about Stenger. You left out the part where he reported to the Senate, which was Mitch McConnell. So this was Stenger dissuading the use of the Capitol Police. Stenger, who reports to McConnell, who helped orchestrate the restraint in the use of force. And I added this other source. I hope you like it. Fox News, where the Capitol Police were unsure about using force during the January 6th riot. We in Seattle, we see what happens when people like the mayor try to get a hold of the police, and Republicans are often saying, well, you're disarming the police, you're defunding the police, you're taking away all their tools, and the police here disobeyed. The police in the Capitol obeyed, and they paid the price.
I just want to say that was an example of left-wing censorship. I was kicked. I don't know what happened there.
It
was
happens
terrible.
sometimes. I'm sorry, Dylan. I didn't mean to do that to you. I'm just,
Wonderful.
it just
awful.
sucks when it happens to you, doesn't it?
Sorry,
anyway.
I'm sorry. It's sad if I offended the nerd caucus. Okay.
All right. Anyway, so thank you for that, Carl. We're gonna throw it to I'm
He
Really
booted him
Important, and then Sprout and IRI. And also, before we give IRI his time to talk, I just want to ask the panel: we are approaching the 1 hour mark. Do we want to extend this by say 15 to 20 more minutes?
Yes, please.
I'm fine with ending it and doing wrap ups, but
Rest of the panel. This is mostly a democracy. I'll only do a tiebreaker.
Down.
Yeah, I wanted to keep going.
Upper.
Oh,
All right, 4-2. We're going to continue this till about 9:15.
was Dylan just involved in another voting issue? Because I think Carl was confused for a second.
Hey,
I was.
I just wanted to
Florida
make
2000.
Dylan, that's how you.
Let's do ranked choice. Let's do
Oh,
ranked
yeah.
choice.
We're not Dylan. That's how you hold an election. You're welcome. You're welcome to steal that. I won't copyright it. I'm really important.
Wonderful.
Go ahead,
That's
buddy.
so funny.
Yeah, so I hate to keep hammering on this Nancy Pelosi point, but it's important because these are our friends that are scared on the right that are trying to rewrite history here and convince people that it wasn't anyone's fault but Nancy Pelosi. So if we go down further in the same article, I'm going to do what Carl did.
I don't know
I'm
what's
going to go
happening
even
with this
further.
screen here.
There's a portion where Josh Hawley, a big star on the right, asks in the Senate to Irving, and he asked him about this optics question. And he says, Senator, I
Where'd
was not
Tiberius
concerned
go?
about appearance whatsoever. It was all about safety and security. Any reference would have been related to appropriate use of force, display of force. So this was not about, is it going to look bad on TV and Nancy doesn't want it and all that. This is this group of people who run security for the Capitol making a
I think these
collective
people are so
decision
naive.
that having the National
I think
Guard
they're
there
so
would
naive or
be
they're just
the
lying.
best.
I don't think
The best
he
thing.
actually believes
so
it, but
we have to knock this nonsense off about
I don't know.
Nancy
Maybe
Pelosi.
he does believe it, but I
and,
think he's
and
naive if
it's
that's
just
the case.
distracting from the people that really got these people wound up. And we'll get to the truth. Don't worry. We'll get to the truth.
I hope so.
Thank you.
I hope we get to the truth.
I'm Really Important. We're going to throw it to Sprout and then Dylan. And everyone, like I said, we have 20 minutes left on this topic. If you want to get in, start raising those hands, because right now we have 2 people on the list. I don't know where Tiberius went. He probably has an old man bladder and had to piss. But I promise not to bully him any more than I just did. So, Sprout, go ahead.
So, to Carl, when he addressed me, I'll just go back and talk to both of you since you both addressed me. The president of the Senate would be Kamala Harris. The president pro tempore would be Patrick Leahy, a Democrat from Vermont. The next in leadership of the Senate, which is these are the people they're talking to, the leadership in the Senate, would be the majority leader, which would be Chuck
He
Schumer.
just keeps
And
hammering this
then,
home.
then fourth person in leadership of the Senate would
I'm
finally
surprised.
be
Wouldn't be surprised if he
Mitch
busts out
McConnell.
the concede
so
your
they were not
point.
speaking to Mitch McConnell. If
Prove
anything,
the-
they were
prove the
speaking
positive
to
or
Chuck
concede
Schumer,
your point.
which is an interesting thing that you guys keep liking to bring Mitch McConnell up. We could talk about a lot of things Mitch McConnell fails at, but it's interesting you guys keep bringing that up. To go to IRI, IRI stopped conveniently mid quote. And ultimately,
Yeah, I
the
don't
question
know
on
if
the table
she was-
when we look at any security asset is: does the intelligence warrant?
When did she give up her Senate ship?
Matched
Because
the
she was a
intelligence? And
senator,
again,
right?
the
I don't know
collective
when
answer
exactly
was yes.
she gave up
I don't
her
know when the
Senate,
collective answer was
actually.
yes,
So
because
maybe
they
I'm not
didn't
sure what the timing of
ask
that
the
was,
National
but-
Guard to be prepared. So that must have been later on. But then if we scroll a little bit further down, we can see Senator Ted Cruz asked whether Irving or Stenger had communicated the January 4th decision on National Guard troops to congressional leadership. He said, on January 4th, I had no follow-up conversations, Irving said, and it was not until the 6th that
They're
I
having,
learned
like, half
leadership
the
that we might be
debate in the
making a
damn
request,
chat, and it's
that
funny.
was the end of the discussion.
I've got like 16,
So,
17 now
this goes
messages of
further
all
to
the
point
stupid links.
that
It's like,
on
what's a link
January
fest?
6th, this was when National Guard
let's
was
see when it starts.
the National
Sprout
Guard was alerted
linked,
that
KP
they
linked,
might be making a request.
Dylan linked,
And
IRI
it
linked.
wasn't before that when
Hans
Irving
added
himself
Quaison
said that the security
for
plan
some
matched with
reason.
the
I
intelligence.
don't know if he's like checking the thing,
Okay, so
or maybe he's a producer.
okay, I misread that. So he said the security plan matched with the
Okay, no, there's
intelligence.
no. Okay, so that was people talking. Now. Okay,
Which
never mind.
I would disagree.
Not so bad.
The intelligence seemed to show that there was going to be something
I really
much
don't
more than
know.
the Capitol Police could have handled, which of course we saw in real life. And this is their fault. This is their fault. They said the security plan matched with the intelligence, and it is their fault.
Thank you, Sprout. I'm really important, and Carl both got called out. To keep this a little bit more orderly, which one of you would like to have a back and forth with Sproutacus first? All right, I'm really important can do it first, and then Carl.
Yes. Well, first of all, the Democrats did not take over the Senate till January 20th officially. So I don't know if you're aware of how the dates work there. So Mitch McConnell and the gang was still in control of the Senate on January 6th. Secondly, that's why these guys got fired, dude, because they did not use the intelligence well. And that is what the Senate hearings led to. And that's why we have hearings, so we can find out wonderful news like this, and then we can correct it and get rid of the people who we can point to and say, you messed up. Nobody is defending the sergeant of arms that was appointed by John Boehner, a Republican, not Nancy Pelosi. That's why we fired his ass.
Sprout, would you like
Okay.
to respond?
So I obviously was not. I obviously skipped past that in my mindset. I'll concede that point. IRI is correct. It would have been Mitch McConnell at the time. Carl was correct with Mitch McConnell. I just want to make that clear. I want to correct that statement. Mitch McConnell would hold some fault in what happened. And so I want to make that statement extremely clear that I am
Zach just dropped the
backtracking
ball.
with new information that was
Drop the
presented to me.
fucking ball.
But at the same time, I do believe that Stenger was the one, which would have been the one who reported Mitch McConnell, was the one that requested the National Guard be prepared to be ready. And Irving, which is the one underneath Nancy Pelosi, was the one that said, no, the security plan matches with the intelligence. So therefore, I don't think the National Guard needs to be ready. That point still hasn't been addressed, besides that we fired the guy. Nancy Pelosi seemed to agree this is the correct plan as well. So, I mean, people are wanting to leave Nancy Pelosi completely out of this. She's not completely out of this as much as you guys want her to be. And then she ultimately turned down two representatives that were recommended to the commission because they were going to ask these kinds of hard questions. They were going to ask why Nancy Pelosi thought that the security plan matched with the intelligence when the intelligence showed the exact opposite. And we saw that happen in real life. So Nancy Pelosi does hold some blame. These questions need to be asked. And since these Republicans weren't admitted into the committee, we see this is going to be political grandstanding and nothing more than that.
I'm really important. You're welcome to briefly respond to that. Then we're going to get into Sprout and Carl's contention before we throw it to Dylan.
Well, I mean, just to speak to the Republicans that weren't allowed on, the reason why we rejected those two people is because they made disparaging remarks about the whole process. We did not want this to be a clown show like you guys normally do. 27 of you getting out of car, big floppy shoes, a little flower on your shirt that squirts water. This is serious business. And I am so impressed with
Oh
Liz
my
Cheney
gosh.
and Adam Kinzinger, the two Republicans that are on there that are giving it the respect it deserves and actually making your party look better. Clowns like Jim Jordan would have continued to make your party look like a joke, and these guys are actually helping you guys in next year's midterms. I don't think it's going to go down the way you think it is, my friend. I can give you a whole long list, look like a CVS receipt of reasons why, but it ain't looking good for the Republicans in 2022. We did you a favor by not letting them on.
5 seconds.
Go ahead.
Okay. Both of the Republicans you mentioned have been censured by their home states.
All right. Thank you both. Then Sprout, can you briefly restate your issue with Carl because that was about 5 minutes ago?
I don't really think I have an issue with Carl, considering I conceded that point.
You said I
Carl,
wasn't a nerd. Here's my response.
I don't think I don't think I said you weren't a nerd. I was just responding to Dylan calling me a nerd. There could be other nerds.
By the way,
in this
I never
panel.
got to hear my response.
good,
because I was
move on.
kicked out. Can I not hear that?
Oh yeah. So sorry.
You want to hear my response to you calling me a nerd?
Yeah.
Okay, I believe that he's calling me a
Nerd
nerd
says
because
what?
I was
Nerd says
able
what?
to
Nerd says
to
what?
wrong.
Nerd says
I just
what?
I just want to let you know you're wrong. Okay, you're wrong.
All right. Thank you both for that amazing source jujitsu that you both just threw at each other. We're gonna throw it now to Dylan. Hopefully, there's gonna be a real point there, and then Biggs. Everyone else, those are the only two people on the list. If you want to get in, we currently have 13 minutes left on this topic for closing statements. So if you want to get in, if you want to ask someone a question, make sure you get it and start doing that now. So Dylan, go ahead, buddy.
Okay. So the first thing I want to say is that Trump told the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by. He did. And they did stand by until January 6th, where they, and there's plenty of proof of this from statements, even our own suspect Sushi was involved in this, whether or not people want to admit it or not, since there's still a few sympathizers on the platform. Were involved in the pre-planning storming of the Capitol. Joe Biggs communicated with the first person to be on the front lines to tear down that barrier that originally instituted violence against the Capitol Police Department. Trump incited them. Trump incited everyone. Trump gave them the fuel when it came to the disinformation about the election. Trump told the specific organizations that were involved, including Joe Briggs, who is right now in jail for what he did. He gave them the fuel for their fires. And let's just talk about the seriousness of what occurred there. There was 2 cops who killed themselves after what occurred. There was 2 bombs planted outside the RNC and the DNC. Brian Sicknick, even though people try to downplay whether the events of the night actually contributed to his death, the medical examiner admitted that it was natural causes, but that the events of that day contributed to his death. 140 cops were injured. Many of them so injured that they still haven't returned and have had fingers cut off, eyes were gouged, just terrible injuries. Many of them had to call home to tell their children that they weren't dead, and bats were used against them. Guns and ammo were found in cars across the Capitol beforehand and after the fact. And that's just some of the facts about what we saw there. That's not even talking about the press getting insulted or the hang Mike Pence. And let me read the tweet from Donald Trump while Mike Pence was fleeing the Capitol for his life. Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution, giving states a chance to certify to correct a set of facts, not the fraudulent or inaccurate ones, which they were asked to previously certify. USA demands the truth. He might have done this between intimidating the DOJ to overturn the United States election. Why is this important? Because this son of a bitch is probably going to run again in 2024. This un-American piece of shit who tried to overthrow our election process using the DOJ, intimidating the people in Georgia.
I have no idea what
is
they're
most likely
trying
going to be running
to
against in
deny.
2024. And I hope the American voters have a complete set of facts
Yeah,
of
pretty
what
much.
occurred on January 6th next time they
I
vote.
don't know
So my
exactly,
question
Rhodes. How you
is to
doing, Rhodes?
Sprout,
Rhodes
do you
Gold.
agree that Donald Trump continues to push lies about the election and pushed lies about the election that helped lead to what happened on January 6th?
Sprout, you're welcome to respond. If you need to take a minute, we can let Biggs go before you, or do you want to respond to it right now?
No, I'm good. He continued to push a narrative. right? He continued to push a narrative. No one knows whether these are lies or not. Texas Supreme Court wasn't heard by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court couldn't decide on Texas's case. And so, I mean, if the Supreme Court could decide on Texas's case, I would err on the side of caution and agree with the Supreme Court. But Trump pushed a narrative that he believed in the same way that Hillary Clinton pushed a narrative that she believed. And then instructed Joe Biden to push a narrative that he thinks he should believe, to never concede, which is interesting that you're now mad at Trump that he's never conceding, but aren't mad that Joe Biden was told to never concede. But I just think it's very interesting that we're looking at this one thing and saying that this narrative that Trump was pushing.
I'm doing pretty good. I'm enjoying myself. I've been getting on more panels lately, so that's
seem
fun.
to have been an
Zach's kind of losing
outright
his train of
lie.
thought, but
When the Supreme Court never got a
He's
chance to look
blowing
at
it.
it because the Supreme Court
Stop
failed on
blowing
their
it.
constitutional duty to follow original jurisdiction and listen to Texas's case.
it's been working. in a
Dylan,
lot
would
of
you like
shit.
to briefly respond before we throw it to Biggs?
Yeah. Trump lost court case after court case after court case on the issue. The Arizona election audit showed that there was basically no election fraud in the entirety of the state. He purposely tried to use the DOJ to overturn the election results and threatened to fire those who did not align with his interests. In fact, he did fire certain officials who come out in his administration
Well, thank
saying
you.
this was the
I might
most
try to
most
do that. It's
secure
just,
election of
we'll see.
our lifetime. He pushed a narrative because he didn't want to accept the fact that he lost.
I like
Beforehand, in
moderating it. I like
2020,
asking
before the
people
election
questions. I like
results,
finding
he said
out personal,
openly that if he
like,
loses,
what people
it's
actually, because I think
rigged.
a lot
He
of this
said that
stuff
in
you just hear this
2015 during
rhetoric
the
and it's all
Republican
just
primary.
like
He said
my
it during
team versus your team. There's no
2016 during the
actual
general, and he said it in 2020 in the general
in-depth
then.
thought.
He was never going to accept the loss. This is a man who disdains democracy. This is a man who does not care if he won or lost. He just cares about preserving power. There is nothing comparable to what Donald Trump pushed when it came to conspiracy theories on the internet, like having Mike Liddell advise him on election fraud, the same fucking pillow guy who went on
I love Barry.
OAN to spread conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory.
Oh
There's
my
nothing
god, these
comparable.
guys are going on and on and on with the
Hillary
rhetoric.
Clinton immediately called Trump to concede the election. There's nothing comparable.
All right, Sprout, 20-second response,
Oh
and
my
then we're
God.
throwing it to Biggs.
So long, I forget what I say.
Hillary Clinton did the same thing. Hillary Clinton advised Joe Biden to do the same thing, but somehow you're mad that Trump decided to say he didn't lose. Gotcha.
All right, thank you, Sprouticus. All right, Biggs, go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, so I still want to like nail home this point. Like, I think that we need to get down to like personal responsibility. Like, as much as we want to say like people incite, I think it comes down to like the people that actually committed these crimes need to be held responsible. And I think that any amount of rhetoric you have, if you say like fight like hell, like all sides do that. Everybody does it, right? Like you said, Dylan, none of the evidence has come back that there is actually any voter fraud or anything like that. People may want to believe that, but we have no evidence of that. Nothing's been proven in any court cases. Like you said, it's been completely denied every step of the way. So there's been no standing for that. So if these people can't take personal responsibility for what they've done, we should have no sympathy for that, right? And that includes any people that are a part of the congressional, either House or Senate, right? So I think we need to. I hope that IRI is correct. I hope we get some real truth, and I actually hope that we find if there is a smoking gun. I don't care if it's a Republican, a Democrat, whoever it is. I want to see somebody be held responsible, and I want to see how we can make this a big change in our country. Because I think a lot of the things that people have in regards to lack of faith in the system is because these people never get held accountable for anything. They always skate by. We literally, like Dylan brought up, whatever Gates or whatever his name is. Like has he done, like, what's happened with him? Like, we haven't pulled him out. Like, there's all these people that just do so much crazy shit that get no repercussions. And that alone, I think, would put a lot more faith into the system on all sides, especially if the real truth can come out. Because I think that's what people really need to see is the real truth. No matter what the outcome is, we don't need this this partisan crap to point the finger at one side and the other. We need to find the actual people that caused this, and the actual people need to be held accountable.
All right, thank you, Biggs. Carl?
Yeah, I just want to ask, is this now a 5-on-1? But seriously, I don't know why we're talking about the election, because this is about January 6th.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
January 6th was trying to overturn the process. The only way to actually overturn that process should be through the courts. You saw it in 2000. If anyone here remembers that, everyone remembers the Michael Moore movies.
There's
about
so many
this.
things I want to
And
bring
then,
up, but I
just
know
like
they're
Dylan said,
bad
Trump
because they're
tried
just
it. Trump tried to
whataboutism.
go to court. He
But,
failed
like,
again.
I know better
again,
than to bring
again,
that up
and
to people
again.
like Dylan.
Just take
and
the L. Come
IRI.
on, move
Like,
on. Democrats, get governing. Let's go.
All right. Thank you, Carl. No one's currently on the list, so I take it that means all right, Sprout. And then after Sprout's done, no one else seems to really to jump in. So we're gonna just move to closing statements for this topic, starting with Tiberius. So Sprout, 2 minutes, buddy. Go ahead, and then everyone else start thinking about your closing statements. Try and keep them under a minute, and I'll give you 15 extra
No,
seconds.
no.
so
I'm not
75
trying to
seconds, for
whataboutism,
this.
but
So
I'm
just try
saying
and,
it's more of
budget
like
that depending
a.
on what you want to say.
So
Sprout,
my
go ahead.
view.
So I said Trump was
Personally,
pushing a
is
narrative just like
if
any
people
other
are going
politician
to
does.
rebel and do
Politicians
some
push
type of
narratives all the
action
time,
against
especially
the
when
state,
they're under
it should
heat
be
about
pointed at
something.
the
They
state,
push
which is what
narratives,
this
try and make
was.
themselves
I'm not
look better
condoning what they
than
did,
what
but I'm just
than what they
saying it's
currently
much
are
better that they
doing.
come at the actual
This
state
is
than the
public record.
private
I
sector,
said
which
on
I think is
social
what the
media,
left had been doing for
when
the
Joe
last year and a
Biden
half.
won the election.
That's my only thing, but that's
in
complete
November,
whataboutism, so I know that.
we need to be the bigger man. We need to not be the Democrats when they say he's
Right,
not
Luger, and I'm
he's
saying
not
that
our
it's
president.
worse.
And I said that
I'm
I
saying
hope
that
for
it's
the
worse
best
to
in
go
Joe
after the
Biden.
private people. Oh, Tiberius
Obviously,
D
when
is
Joe
following.
Biden
Thank
got
you,
into
sir.
office, I didn't
I
get what I
appreciate it.
wanted.
That's amazing.
And I've got every right to criticize the man. I voted
Thank you,
I
Ty.
voted for who I thought was best for office, and following that, it didn't turn out. And I have got every right to criticize the man for his moves in a political
yeah.
office, and I've got every right to say that he's still my president. I still pray that Joe Biden does a good thing for America. Unfortunately, what I've seen so far, I don't see America going in a very good direction.
I knocked over my
but
pen.
I still pray that he does good things for America. I'm not praying for America to fall. I'm not praying for America to do badly because the president that is currently in office I don't agree with. But I hope Joe Biden does do good for America. I guess we'll just have to wait and see the next 3 years.
Thank you, Sprout. Dylan wanted to get in, and because we're not officially at the end time and the beginning of closing statements, go ahead, buddy.
Times.
Yeah, I have questions for Sprout. It's simple yes or no's, or he could elaborate on it. But do you still stand by the idea that Trump, he's not lying? There's no proof that he didn't lie, or do you still stand by that? Before I ask you these questions,
I'm saying that Trump pushed a narrative that was unlikely to be true.
You mean wrong?
Unlikely to be true. Texas did.
So like,
Texas.
can I,
okay,
wait,
so
wait,
what I mean by that? Let
me ask you these one by one, because these are just irreproverably false. It'd be like me saying like, "Hey guys, right? I'm actually in Hanz's apartment, right? Is that possible? I mean, maybe, but the odds of it are so low that you can just say it's wrong, right? Let me just read you a few quotes.
Why would it be impossible for you to be in my apartment? But like,
I've
never seen Hanz outside his room. I've never seen you outside
Hanz
your
fucked
room.
it
It's
up.
entirely possible that you both are sharing the same apartment.
But it's wrong. Any investigation,
hey.
any clear sight of his room could see that I'm not in his room.
So Dylan, you're welcome to ask any questions you want of Spartacus. Spartacus, please answer them honestly, and then if you have any questions for Dylan in response, you're welcome to do that. And then after that, we're going to closing statements. So Dylan, go ahead.
Okay. So here's just some quotes from Trump. Now I could do this all night, so I'm just gonna go with the first ones on my list of like over 100 and like.
Should I do my
said about
silly
the
take
election.
for the next topic
The
for the
Justice
opening? Just a
Department,
meme
they
for a
failed to
minute
call
before
out late
we
night
get to it, or
ballot
should I just go
stuffing
straight
that
up?
took place in Georgia. Remember that? Where they made up a story of a water main break in order to get people in security to leave the premises, and then they went into a rampage of stuffing, essentially the ballots. As far as I know, there's no proof for this. So is that a lie or the truth?
Memes? Okay, I'll go for the memes.
While there's no proof, you can ask the question.
No, but he is stating this as fact. He's stating this as fact. He didn't say, is this possible? He said, they failed to call out the late night ballot stuffing. He's saying that this has a historical fact when there's no evidence.
Do lawyers in a court case call their statements fact? Of course they do. This is just him stating.
So
his
you admitting
position.
it's a lie, but he's just creating narrative. So your thing is, it's okay if he lies because it's a narrative and politicians lie all the time.
It's a narrative that's unlikely.
So so you're not gonna admit that's a lie. Here's another one. They deleted Georgia over 100,000 votes. There's no evidence of this. Raffensperger announced that the names would be deleted from the voter registration rolls to keep the state's voter files up to date, saying there is no legitimate reason to keep ineligible voters on the rolls. This had nothing to do with the election. He said this as if it affected the election, as if they deleted those votes. They didn't delete
hey,
votes.
Rhodes
They deleted
Gold,
voter
thank you
files
for the
from uneligible
follow.
voters. This is a
Awesome,
lie.
thank you so much.
This is a confirmed lie. His own people in Georgia admitted it's a lie. Will
Thank
you
you
admit
so
this
much.
is a lie?
I appreciate it.
That's
Yeah,
a
we're
lie.
doing.
Okay.
The next
I'll
topic
do
is
one
about
more.
video
They
game
the
industry,
drop boxes
Blizzard,
were
and
off very
unions.
late. Where are they?
Kind of
Where are
all
they?
in
What
one
happened?
thing.
They're supposed to be. They're not. I could
So
tell you
if
what
you want to
happened.
come back in about
Sometimes
half hour,
late by
that'd
days
be
and showing
perfect.
up to vote counting areas.
I
What is this
appreciate you stopping in.
suggesting?
It was awesome.
This is what is it suggesting that that people just made up magical ballot boxes that had thousands of votes that changed the election? Well, will you at least admit that this is dishonest in nature, if not even an outright lie?
Okay,
Like
I've got
he's
so
just asking open questions. Like,
can I ask for clarification?
okay,
Yeah, it's
This
kind of
has
just
to do
about
with-
how
yeah,
the
this
has to do-
current
these mailboxes were
litigation against
they
Blizzard
late by
is
days?
were they
having the
late by
industry
days?
push
Yes.
towards unionization and better
Do you want
treatment
me
of
to go
workers
like
and
get
such.
the data on these specific ballot boxes right now?
Well, I was just curious. You're asking me these questions. I
But
figured.
there's
Oh my
no
God, let's
evidence
end
that
this.
these ballot boxes were delivered improperly late.
Okay, then I would suggest that it's entirely
Oh, ready to
unlikely. And
wrap
if you
this
could
shit
find
up.
me the evidence that if you could find me proof that these ballot boxes were not given late, I would concede that is a lie.
Okay.
All
So
right, thank you.
okay,
Thank you.
so you will admit, and this is the big overarching question, and I'll stop after this, that Trump has lied about the 2020 election. You've already admitted that he has, that he's lied about it. So would you then conclude that he spread disinformation about the election that could have impacted, most certainly, the views of his supporters who were there on January 6th on whether they thought it was a legitimate outcome or not?
So I will admit that Trump has lied about certain things. Yes. At the same time, he was trying to make a case. I'm not gonna defend him lying. He shouldn't have lied. He shouldn't have lied about what there was no evidence for. But he was desperately trying to make a case for him still being president. But like I said concede this point. Personally, it's public record. It's on my social media. I said concede this point that Joe Biden is president, and for the Republicans to not say not my president, which is what I said before, that Joe Biden is our president, and to follow along as such and pray he does the best for America.
Now, here's the last fact I'll say. This is from a speech he made 10 days ago.
Okay.
After the fact, after everything happened, after he could have gone back and checked the facts of the matter, he is still lying about the election. That's why I think there needs to be a select committee, because if he's still lying about the election that had an impact on the people who were there on January 6th, then we need to have an honest depiction of what happened by talking to the officers who defended democracy that day.
All right. Thank you both for that. Sprout, in the interest of fairness, Dylan asked you 3 questions. You're welcome to ask him any 3 questions related to this topic before we go to
Oh my
closing
God,
statements.
can we not? Like never. This
Dylan,
is like a college basketball
do you
game.
believe
The last 2 minutes
Hillary
last
Clinton,
like a fucking hour.
participated in recounts and saying that after she already conceded the election, to say that she believed that these states weren't counted correctly and therefore there's a possibility for her winning, so she wanted these states recounted and paid with their own money.
What?
Do you believe that Hillary Clinton paid for the recounts in 3 states with her own money because she believed these states were not counted correctly, and so therefore
What
she
the
paid
fuck
for
does that have to do with
recounts?
anything?
Do you
Yes,
believe
but then
that?
called them off afterwards.
Okay. Do you believe that Hillary Clinton told Joe Biden
why the
to never
fuck are they
concede?
talking about Hillary Clinton?
Okay. Those are the 2
Oh my
questions I would
God,
ask.
this is fucked.
All right. Thank you,
Like,
Sprout.
can I make one
No.
distinction though?
No,
Wait.
no, be done. This is
Wait, it's
ridiculous.
literally
Make it-
it's
closing
3
time.
words.
Make it
It's 3
quick.
words. It's
Make
just
it
5
quick.
words. Hillary Clinton is not Joe Biden.
Yes, fine.
That's 5
good.
words. But
Jesus
anyway, destroyed. What's it like, son? Anyway, all right. So we're gonna start closing statements with Tiberius. 75 seconds on the clock. We're gonna go from Tiberius to Carl to Biggs to Dylan to Sprout and finishing with I'm really important. And then we're gonna have a 5-minute break, and then we're gonna go into topic 2, which is about Blizzard, Activision, and unionization inside the video game industry. So, with that in mind, Tiberius, 75 seconds on the clock. Please do not go over. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, as far as my thoughts on this topic regarding that is that this commission probably will not go anywhere. If anything, what it will do is it'll be able to pull some information through subpoenas that some authorities weren't able to, and they'll be able to pass it off to state and federal authorities that can press charges that way. But if it comes to sitting members of Congress, this will rapidly become a dead stick. I'm a right winger. I would like to be a Republican, but I hate the state of the Republican Party right now. I believe in being better than your opponents and actually standing up for something, especially when you say that you believe in law and order. This isn't it. And yeah, I'm going to hold my side accountable before I hold the other side accountable, because then I don't have a fucking leg to stand on. And that's basically me in a nutshell. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tiberius. Carl?
Right. There's a lot to say. Attorneys can't actually lie when they represent their client. We got to leave that for the client, when the client testifies, when the client is put on the stand. So Rudy Giuliani is being suspended. Lynn Wood might be disbarred. Sidney Powell is facing sanctions in multiple states. Dominion and Smartmatic are suing Giuliani and Lindell for defamation. In Georgia, the GOP and Trump are losing attorneys' fees. You know, this isn't a recount. This isn't what's allowed within the law. It's the big lie. That's what January 6th was about, and it was part of the show. Everything that these lawyers were doing was part of the show. It was meant to disrupt the legal process. It was meant to call question on the legal process, and that's why we've got people who say that that Joe Biden is not their president. I mean, Sprout, good on you for going with that. But there are people out there who will deny the material reality of that fact.
Thank you, Carl. Biggs?
Yeah, so I think I've said most of what I want to say. I just want everybody who's responsible to be held accountable. I want as much truth to come out as possible. But I want to take the rest of this time to say thank you to all the other creators on this panel and anybody watching. All these people are amazing content creators. I pretty much have watched all of them at some point in time or another. So give everybody a follow here. Give them a sub if you can. And especially Hanz for putting this together. Hanz is great. He does a lot of his Pokemon stream, which I really don't understand Pokemon. I never did. It was a little bit after my time, but I do enjoy the Pokemon. Watching him play it is awesome. So yeah, give everybody here a follow and a sub if you can. And thanks again for having this great content, Hanz.
Thanks for helping make it. Thanks, really appreciate it. All right, Dylan, go ahead, buddy.
I'll just say this. I'll say this out loud because apparently pissed off a lot of people on Twitter. So I'll just say it again. Calling the January 6 rioters like tourists is like calling the 9/11 hijackers joyriders. That's not to compare the two events, but to compare the downplaying of the significance of the people who were involved and the guilt that they have during the event. Also, Ashley Babbitt should have had a funeral at sea.
What the fuck?
All right, thank you, Dylan.
I don't know what the fuck that is.
Just to make everything clear, because it seems that your Twitch chat seems to think a lot of things that I didn't say. I did not say that Trump was still my president. I actually, in fact, said the exact opposite. So I will agree with Carl. There are some people that say this, and they're inherently wrong. Joe Biden is their president, no matter if they want to believe it or not. But this is about the January 6th
For how
commission.
long, though, is the
This is
question?
about
I give it another
whether or not this is political
year,
grandstanding.
maybe a year
And
and a
this
half.
is political grandstanding. And Nancy Pelosi proved that when she decided to not
I say
accept
just before,
two members of the Republican
not this January
nominations
coming
for the
up, but
committee.
the next January.
Now,
So,
this
like,
has
2
never
years
before
from his,
happened. This is
inauguration.
unprecedented by Nancy Pelosi.
I think before,
And when she took
like,
this
2 years,
unprecedented
I
step,
don't see him going
it
much
shows
past
the
2
American
years.
people this is just going to be
Personally.
political grandstanding. That she doesn't want anyone in there that disagrees with her version of her version of the events. And she's only going to accept people that are going to be moved or are going to agree with her political version of the events.
there's fights
And
going on right now.
that's
Damn
the way it is. Anyone else who asks any questions outside of that, you're not allowed in the discussion. And it's just political grandstanding to say Orange Man bad for another year or two.
All right, thank you, Sprout. And then last word on this topic. Sorry, I'm really important. I almost said irrelevant. I don't know, like the words sound the same. I'm really important. You got 75 seconds. Go ahead, buddy.
Sure. So I actually want to applaud Sprout for saying that Joe Biden is the president and that he's rooting for him, because I felt the same way about Donald Trump. When Donald Trump won in 2016, I said, let's give him a chance. Let's see what happens. Most politicians come to the center and try to govern for everybody, but he refused to do that. So I was disappointed, but I appreciate that Sprout said that. So I want to applaud that. And addressing Tiberius, I think Tiberius is right in saying that your guys' side should be leading on this, because this is the right's political life.
I agree with that for sure.
I think this is a cancer inside your party, this lying, this staying focused on what lost you guys the 2020 elections. That's what you're doing. You guys are not looking back and saying, why did we lose and how do we change that so we win in 2022? So it just doesn't make sense that you're going to win next year if you keep going along this line and not deal with the problem. And so I'm rooting for you guys. I actually want the right to do better, because we need a viable partner to work with to solve this country's problems. Us on the left, we do not represent the whole country. You guys represent half of them, but we need a real partner to work with. We don't have that right now. We got people like Jim Jordan and Donald Trump taking up all the oxygen in the room. That's not going to work. And finally, to Biggs, I want to say, Biggs, you're right, man. A lot of people don't have faith in government. And a lot of people are in your shoes where they're saying, I don't think anything's going to happen. It's the same old, same old. And God bless Joe Biden and the Democrats for pushing bipartisanship, having those two Republicans on the committee, going for the bipartisan infrastructure plan.
Hope you're right.
That's how we bring the temperature down in this country. So I think even if nothing comes from this committee, just America seeing these people, Dems and Republicans, working together without all the theatrics and fighting is going to help. So stay optimistic, my brother.
Thank you. I'm really important. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for an excellent, if slightly spicy, first topic. Reminding everyone in chat, I already timed someone out for saying "fuck Sprout." Please don't do that. That's not very nice. We encourage cordiality here, so we can have an actual conversation. I think we were able to have a conversation on the first topic, and that is awesome. So everyone, take 5. Do whatever you need to do. Piss, shit, eat, drink, all that sort of stuff. We'll reconvene back here at 9:31. So if you need to do anything, go ahead. Anyone who wants to stay on, you're welcome to chat. I'm not going to mute anybody. Just please, no gamer words, no slurs, nothing like that. Please don't get any of our channels nuked.
Hey, Hans.
What's up?
Can I respond to what you said that you timed someone out for? Can I just respond to that real quick? Nothing
go ahead.
bad. I just want to let them know that they're wrong, okay? You're talking to the best Twitch streamer that's ever twitched, okay? The House and the Senate, they're going to go red. You're going to wonder if it's a stoplight or not after 2022. Okay? You heard it here first.
Oh, thank you, Sprout. All right, I'll be right back, guys.
Not a problem.
Oh. Don't do anything spooky. I'm watching you.
Well, that was fun. How you been, IRI?
I was muted. Sorry. I'm doing great, man. I'm real excited about infrastructure. I know it's not the sexiest thing in the world, but I just see some great stuff coming out of it.
Going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look, 16 Republicans in the Senate voted for it twice now with procedural votes, including McConnell.
Yeah,
so
procedural
good sign.
votes. They didn't vote for it. It was the procedural. Yeah, because some of them are going to drop off because of the the whole, what's the word? They're like, oh, we just want to have a vote on it, basically. But
they wanted to debate it, yeah. But that was in the face of Trump putting out a statement saying, I'll primary anybody who votes for this. So
True.
Trump is taking L's. Combine that with his Tuesday loss in
that Trump
Texas
candidate got wrecked. Yeah.
His candidate lost, and I think his candidate may lose on Tuesday again, the same night as Tuesday is going to be an exciting night. I'm real excited about that. That's Nina Turner versus Shondell Brown, and we have another primary for the Republicans in Ohio too. That will determine if Trump's star is fallen.
My money's on Nina at the moment, but it could go either way.
I think Shondell Brown's got it by a landslide.
Really? I mean, the polling still indicates that Nina's in the lead.
Yeah, but this state polling is like 500 people, first of all, so it's not that good. And I mean, this is like, it's Marcia Fudge that ran the district before. She's not the most progressive person, so it just makes sense that somebody like Marcia Fudge would take over. And I think that progressives are on their back heels right now with just in general, like AOC and them. It's not in vogue right now.
Do you really think they're? I mean, I mean, the fourth most powerful Democrat in the country is Bernie Sanders,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, when we see they continue to grow their caucus, I don't think they're really on the back foot.
Well, look at AOC. She claimed that this bipartisan deal was bad, and that she accused Kirsten Sinema of like basically being racist. Like to me, is like a panic mode for AOC. And I went to
I
this
mean, I
Medicare.
think that's leaning a lot into one statement, though, right?
Well, she said you excluded members of color in the
No.
negotiations.
I know. I meant that. Looking at that one statement to say, see, the Democrats are on the back. I mean
Hmm.
the progressive are on the back foot, because my thing is like we can like look at any one statement or two statements, but Bernie Sanders, an admitted socialist, is the fourth most powerful Democrat in the country. He is the chairman of the Senate Budget Committee. He fucking dominated negotiations to get the 3.5 trillion, which was he used really good tactics there. He's working pretty well with the Biden administration. The Progressive Caucus continues to grow, and I mean the most dominant voices on the left right now still seem to be progressives. So I
You
mean,
think
I have
so?
no reason to really sit here and be like they're on the back foot. At most, you could maybe say they stagnated. At most.
Well, they just seem to be flailing in the wind. I mean, Bernie is on Team Biden right now. He's been canceled by everybody. They all hate him now.
This is this. I feel like this is like kind of like confirmation bias from Twitter, and I think it's also being like super uber online. I mean, if that was the way I was going,
Uber
then I would be like,
online.
man,
Hell yeah.
this Assad, these
I love
things
the
about
Uber
Bashar
online
al-Assad
people.
gassing and oh my god, like we need to worry about this Jackson Hinkle guy running for Congress. Like
Sure.
nah, like I think it's
Well,
a lot of us being uber online.
how do you explain New York City and Eric Adams winning and not the progressives?
Um, I would say that number one, I would say it was a close race if you go by it was 51 to 49. If we actually look at the what is it, ranked choice voting, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that like Eric Adams just fucking like he had a lot of powerful backers. Like just because like and at the most again that would just mean we haven't grown as a nation. That doesn't mean we. That would be argument for stagnation. For us to say we're on the back foot, we need to say like Cory Bush just lost their seat, or Ilhan just lost their seat, or something like that. Less than we gained. It would be like, for example, like let's say Nancy Pelosi gets reelected again. You can't really use it as evidence that the progressives are losing. You would just be like, okay, they haven't been able to win that much, you know?
So Dylan, I have a question for you specifically, because you talked about Trump running in 2024, right?
Uh-huh.
Final
Um,
question before we go to the next topic.
Oh my gosh.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Like watching a fucking
do
slow
you not
motion
think there's
train
a
wreck.
high possibility that DeSantis runs instead of Trump in 2024?
Oh yeah, DeSantis right now is polling amazingly with this. I mean, a lot can happen in like 2 to 3 years with DeSantis. Definitely, since the idea of President DeSantis is a very recent thing, and if we know anything about Ron DeSantis, is that his election to governor of Florida was an extremely close race where he was almost beaten by the Democrat Andrew Gillum. So I mean, a lot can happen, but right now he's polling very well. He seems to be getting a lot of media attention, and Trump seems to like the guy. So if there's anybody that would make sense, like if you wanted me to bet on somebody besides Trump, I'd bet on Ron DeSantis probably. But the thing is, with the Republican primary, it's defined completely by who will be president, asterisk, if Trump doesn't run. Because if Trump runs, he gets it. Like everybody admits that. Even Ron DeSantis would have to accept that reality.
So I publicly asked. Well, I can't say I
Oh my
publicly asked
god.
because
Fucking
Trump's not on
A.
Twitter.
End this conversation already.
But I
Sick
publicly
of it.
said on Twitter
Sick
that
of it.
DeSantis should run instead of Trump, and I think a lot of Republicans agree with me because it gets rid of the hate vote. If you get what I'm saying, like a lot of people showed up to the polls because they hated Trump,
Yeah,
not
I
because
hope
they had
it's-
any,
I
not
hope
because
it's
they had
DeSantis
any
too.
political ideology, not because they had any political stance. The only reason they showed up to the polls was because I hate Trump.
Yep. I mean, I agree with you strategically. If I was a Republican, that's what I'd be advocating for. But that's also not what the base is going to be exactly like wanting. If you include Trump in the poll, Trump wins every single time by like a mile and a half.
It should
It's
be. It
completely-
should. Let me put it this way: if Trump is being strategic, he should decide not to run.
When is he
If
being
he's being
strategic?
strategic.
Yeah, like I wouldn't worry about that, like him being strategic too much. But all right, anyone, we're getting started for topic 2. So slight like oddity that we're gonna do here. First, we have an extra special guest that has a lot of experience with workers' rights and stuff on the panel here. He knows a
I know
lot.
a lot about it. Don't gas me up here like this. Come on.
So he's going to introduce himself, and then we have Carl, our resident industry insider. I'm going to give him like a 2 or 3 minute period just to like maybe give us some extra like tidbits before we go into opening statements to not make him have to do info dope for his like first thing. So Keo, first introduce yourself, tell us a bit about you, and then we're going to let Carl go off for a little bit, and then we're going to start with our opening statements. So.
So for people who don't know me, and I'd be very surprised at this point, being considering this is on Hanz's community and we interact a lot. My name's Kyo-san. I do Twitch politics. I spend a lot of my time offline organizing union work in Australia, unionizing my own workplace, assisting with unionizing, entrenching myself in doing a lot of things like walkouts, stuff like that. I'm more experienced in Australian law, but I've done my best diligence to do a fair bit of reading in how the NLRB works. And the NLRA works in leveraging my Australian understanding to an American context, and trying to do a little bit of reading about Blizzard stuff. But from what I understand, Carl will know a lot more about that than I will.
Thank you, Keo. So, all right, Carl, take your time with this one. Just try and keep it under say like 3 minutes. Just give us any critical information about Blizzard and Activision. Oh, and also everyone, the topic that we're going to be discussing, just so everyone understands a bit as to like why we're having like this little bit of background for the benefit of everybody. The topic is the widespread allegations of mistreatment and sexism by Blizzard/Activision has prompted many in the video game industry to look into stronger worker protections, including some workers seeking unions, with Blizzard/Activision hiring a union-busting firm in response. How is it that workplace conditions in a major entertainment industry are so poor, and what are solutions, both public and private, to improve them? So that's the question that everyone could be thinking about. Carl, would you like to give us some special background on this topic?
Right. Yes, absolutely. And just to be clear, I'm perfectly happy at my job right now. I'm happy with my compensation. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So I hope you don't mind if I demur once or twice on this very sensitive topic. To give you a little bit of my background, in January 2013, I joined the wonderful team of BattleNet Austin. Later that year, I visited the main campus. I also went to BlizzCon. I think it was 2013, and then 2014 we had virtual. I absolutely loved my time in BattleNet Austin. I thought we did some really great work. If you really want to pry, I am actually an open book. I leave my name public, so if you visit linktree/YesTV, there's a link to my LinkedIn page. You'll unfortunately need a LinkedIn login to see like the full dates of my time with Blizzard, but you can see a lot of the projects that I did. I was very blessed to be in that industry, and so I'm gonna save sort of my arguments for the arguments section. Does anyone on this panel have any questions about my firsthand experience at Blizzard or my firsthand experience with harassment in the games industry? Yeah.
Did you
If
Sprout and then Keo.
did you witness any? Did you like firsthand witness anything that's being alleged against Activision / Blizzard?
I don't think so. I did attend at least one officially sanctioned office party. I don't recall anything untoward that occurred during that office party. I believe it was, I believe this was when one of our producers was going off to Europe in 2013. I went to maybe one pretty awkward house party, but that's about it. Fortunately for me, I am the boring married dude. I didn't go bar crawling. I didn't. We had a little bit of a cube crawl, but there wasn't a lot of drinking. It was just sort of connected to that official party where anyone who was still working at their desk shouldn't feel left out. That's what I understood the cube crawl was for. And so really the accusation that women working at Blizzard were made to feel extremely uncomfortable during those official events, that's absolutely disappointing to me. I believe them. I believe that their concerns are real. And I think this investigation is incredibly important to reforming the industry. And perhaps having alcohol in the office might not be such a great thing.
Thank you. Keo, do you have any particular questions?
Yeah, sure. So you mentioned you were part of the BattleNet team, is that right?
That's right.
Yeah. So I did a little bit of digging, not too much, like a bunch of YouTube videos and some reading of some articles. A couple of people mentioned that that when they looked at particular, because a lot of we'll dig into this more as we get into the panel, but from what I understand, a lot of people are looking at this like it's a Blizzard issue when it's more an Activision Blizzard issue, particularly like with people in Treyarch, people in the Activision production team. And one of the teams that was mentioned, and the exact quote was, it was that had significant problems was the BattleNet team. So you said you'd been working there since like 2013, is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah. So would you be able to like shed some light on, in terms of like work environment? Have you worked in a lot of places before, or is this like one of your early jobs? You still work there? Is that correct?
Actually, I had almost a decade in IT prior to getting into the games industry. I joined the games industry in around December 2011 with Riot Games, actually in the very early parts, and I actually witnessed a lot more problematic stuff at Riot, being a very early point in their in their organization, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Though not as much certainly as what's showing up in these lawsuits. To give you a sense of where BattleNet fits in with regards to the organizational structure, BattleNet is a team. They're a service team within Blizzard Studio, and Blizzard Studio is a game organization studio within Activision. I can't comment on anything that I wasn't really involved with. I understand that there are other service organizations that I interacted with, like Demonware. I understand there's like a Bungie office somewhere here in Seattle that
This is super
handles
interesting to
the
me
content for Destiny,
in,
stuff like that.
the games industry.
I'm
So
just
I
going to
hope
ping a couple. Yeah. Do you mind if I ping you with a couple of questions that were brought up specifically by their concerted action stuff for the reason of the walkout? Cool. So I know that one of the things that their main reasons for the walkout that they listed was the adoption of recruitment, interviewing, and hiring and promotion policies that were designed to improve representation. How do you feel about representation that was among the BattleNet team while you've been a part of it? Do you feel like it's been like, in terms of like men, women, inequality and higher up raises? I know that under Treyarch, a lot of the women were pushed aside and were given like lower work. Was this an issue within Battle.net, or is this a little bit different?
Unfortunately, I cannot say whether that is accurate or not. However, understanding what I do about the industry at this time, I think it's definitely possible. I know that when the Battle.net Austin office started, there were no women working in that room, in that pit of like a dozen dudes. It was. However, we did have interns or temporary assignments come into that office from the customer service staff, and there were some really professional, great women that I was very pleased to work with. Later on in my career at Battle.net Austin, we gained a woman leader, and I have great faith in the women leaders at Blizzard, and I think that in our case especially, she made sure that that any women working in that office would have a place to go if anything untoward were to happen.
In terms of like work environment, was it like was there much of like a top down issue in terms of like crunch culture, in terms of how well deliverables were set and met? Things, I don't know if that's like an issue with the BattleNet team. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't.
It was rarely an issue with the BattleNet team. It was an issue at Riot Games, and it was absolutely an issue elsewhere in the games industry, in my experience.
So it had like, you had like pretty professional leadership that was, everyone was pretty happy to work there in terms like.
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Keo. All right, I think this was like enough helpful background. I hope this helped everyone watching maybe understand the situation a little bit better. Now we are going to move to opening statements on this. We are going to start with we're going to like around the circle around me. We're going to start with I think makes most sense to give Carl the first and last word on this one. So we're going to let Carl go first, then Dylan, then I'm Really Important, then Sprout, then Biggs, then Keo, and then Tiberius. 1 minute on the clock for this. You are welcome to go anytime you're. Oh, also, and if you are citing something in particular, again, remember, please either link it in chat so everyone understands, like both in our Discord chats, we all can be reading that together, and also in the Twitch chat, just so all our viewers can follow along as best they can, because this is a bit of a specific topic, and if someone doesn't know what's going on, they'll probably feel kind of fucking lost, and I don't want that to be the case for this conversation. So, all right, 1 minute on the clock. Carl, if you need a little bit more time, we'll just give everyone else more time as well. So go ahead, buddy.
So essentially, some of the biggest accusations that are levied against Blizzard at this point have to do with the behavior of a person named Alex Afrasiabi. You all may have seen his YouTube where he's responding to a woman asking, could we have some women characters who don't look like they came out of a Victoria's Secret catalog? And he laughs and says, ha, we'll try to find a different catalog, a variety of catalogs for those women. And ooh, that something about that sexy Tauran female model. So this is really cringe. I of course was not witness to any of this stuff, and I'm disappointed and unfortunately not all too surprised given the other things that I noticed throughout the gaming industry and gaming culture around 10 years ago. I think that when women are empowered in the workplace and when we have everyone watching each other's backs and we have people who are not sort of given as much of a top-down structure, more power given to lower level managers and auditing middle steps, that we definitely have a greater ability to surface abuses like this. That's about all I can say on that topic.
All right, thank you, Carl. And everyone, Carl clocked in at about 90 seconds there, so we're going to give the same courtesy to everyone else for their opening statements. So, Dylan, 90 seconds on the clock, buddy. Go ahead.
A woman working at Blizzard killed herself, and then they started passing around nudes of the woman who ended her own life. And there's also reports, of course, of that woman being abused while being there. There was a Bill Cosby suite that many of the people went to, including the guy from HR, which is kind of a problem if you wanted to go to human resources for help. This was a problem that is pretty deep into Blizzard when it came to abuses. It wasn't, by the way, it wasn't just women who were sexually harassed. As usual, the men who were sexually harassed have been kind of brushed under the rug because I guess it's difficult for a general society to sympathize with male victims, but men were sexually harassed too. Obviously, this was a terrible culture. It has to do with the fact that, number one, gaming as a whole has always had a sexism, racism, and toxicity problem. This could be due to a lot of factors. I mean, everybody just says, Lamau, it's the COD days or whatever. Like, I guess that could be in part, but a lot of it has to do with the lack of representation and not voices from those communities. If those people are not in the room to check you when you say dumb shit, then you continue to say dumb shit, and before you know it, saying that dumb shit becomes normalized. I mean, how many times do you think there was joked about a Cosby suite before one was actually done? How much toxicity has to happen before you can pass away around a picture of somebody who just killed themselves, who naked, and that's okay? Absolutely terrible.
Thank you, Dylan. I'm Really Important.
Sure. So I appreciate that this topic is on here. I don't usually engage in stuff like this because I'm so caught up with what's going on Capitol Hill, but I'm glad I did because I learned a lot doing research. And I was shocked to see that a company like Activision Blizzard, which has almost 10,000 employees, 80% of them are guys. And I don't know how that happens, but something's got to change. And this lawsuit seems significant because it's being brought by a regulatory agency here in California, and it's been going on for 2 years. I read that there's 20,000 plus complaints a year to this agency, and they took on 4 cases in 2019, this being one of them. They've been investigating for 2 years. So, but a lot of attention's been focused on the sexual harassment, rightly so, and that gets a lot of headlines with the cause suite and all that stuff, and the suicide that Dylan mentioned. But also a big part of this is unequal pay, because in California we passed a law last year that requires companies with 100 or more employees to report pay and gender and start to connect the dots. And I think that's going to be one of the biggest things to come out of this case ultimately is the wage gap basically between men and women. And it's a serious thing because it impacts all of us. We want to see more women in the workforce, and when they're discriminated against like this in broad daylight, it's frustrating. And that's something we can really change. And I think that'll have a broader impact than just getting rid of the one guy who's responsible for the Cosby suite, because they could kind of sweep it under the rug on that guy, but you can't sweep under the rug all of the inequality with payment.
Thank you. I'm really important. Sprout?
So what Activision has done is absolutely disgusting. To allow this kind of culture to go through their workforce and to continue without being reprimanded, without taking care of the issue, without making sure this kind of culture is I can't even think of the word right now. But basically to where you don't get any chances. If you participate in this kind of culture, then you're not part of the company. It seems like we're all going to agree, so I'll wait to do this. But if Hans wants me to, that way we can have some kind of discussion on this, besides us all just agreeing. I can play devil's advocate, and you all can come after me since chat hates me already.
You don't have to do that. I'm hoping the second topic of this is considerably more constructive, and I would love to maybe get into the weeds a little bit more about, both public and private things that we can do to help solve these issues or other issues inside the gaming industry, or even if you want to broaden it to gaming culture in general, you're welcome to do that. But please, I very, very, very much dislike when people are heels for the sake of being heels on this. This is supposed to be as productive a conversation as possible, even when we disagree. So that's
okay. So I will not play
championship.
I will not play devil's advocate. But what Activision has done and allowed is absolutely disgusting, and it needs to be looked at through governmental agencies, and these accusations need to be thoroughly investigated. And if it comes down to it, then there needs to be charges handed down, such as depraved heart murder, such the woman who was abused into killing herself, and then her nudes shared after. I believe depraved heart murder charge would fit quite squarely with that accusation if proved correct.
Possibly.
And so I think these deserve the investigation, and the government needs to do this, and we need to find out the facts and get to them as quickly as possible to make sure that there's not further harm.
Thank you, Sprout. And just quickly, Dylan, what do you say about the Hippy Dippy Championship?
I mean, if you don't like heels.
All right, Biggs, you're up, buddy. I really appreciate it. Go ahead.
All right, so this kind of hits close to home for me, being the father of 3 daughters. I think it's appalling whenever we have any type of bad actors, and especially when it comes to making people uncomfortable based on their their gender or even their sexuality or whatever that might be. But one thing that I think that Dylan kind of alluded to but didn't come out and actually say was that we need men to stand up to other men when it comes to these type of issues. I don't know about you. I mean, we're all men here, but some places where you hear some of the most vulgar and ridiculous stuff is around men, especially when they don't think anybody else is listening. And like Dylan said, was that how many times were these things joked about before they actually became a reality? And I think that's 100% true, right on the nose. We need to stop these things before they even become an issue. I think everybody is responsible for that. I know we had some things linked in the Discord that was pretty appalling. Some of the stuff from some of the articles about like having a picture of Cosby in the suite with all these guys posing for it. Like, how the hell did these guys not think that this was a bad idea? Like, even if you're going to be that scummy, but to like take a picture with that is just fucking ridiculous to me. I don't understand how you can be that appalling and still think you can just get away with it. So like, we need to have other men stand up to these guys and say, hey, this isn't right. And I think that's the number one thing that we can probably do to solve this problem.
Thank you, Biggs. Keo.
BlizzCon Cosby crew. David Kosak, I am gathering hot chicks for the cause. Alex Afrasabi, bring them. Corey Stockton. Greg, you on the way? Dave Kosak, you can't marry all of them, Alex. Alex Afrasabi. I can, I'm Middle Eastern. Jesse McCree, you misspelled fuck. Greg Street at the Hilton Bar. Jesse McCree, come up to the cause. These people are talking about arranging and organizing sexual assault people to bring up to the suite, right? Something that's incredibly improper. This is during a BlizzCon, okay? The actions of Alex Afriasabi cannot be understated in how disgusting they are, and it cannot also be understated to make sure that Afriasabi is not allowed to become a sacrificial lamb. Greg Street, mentioned in that thread, who is a part of that group in 2013, is now head of developing an MMO for Riot Games right now, right? These people are all still in industry. Yes? So we need to understand how widespread this is among the entire culture, how much all of these people need to be held to account. If anyone else hasn't read this, by the way, in the chat, I highly, highly recommend Kotaku's article on the Bill Cosby suite and how well they pull apart all of the arguments against that suite being related to Bill Cosby. Some of the employees tried to say that it was because of his sweater. That's why. Right? Because it looked like a room back at Blizzard HQ, and how much bullshit that is after being able to shred this 10 years later, right?
Can you post the link?
Yep, I absolutely can.
Okay.
These things are incredibly important going forward, right? The union has asked, well, not the union, they've concerted action. We've got to make sure I use the right words for the American law. The concerted action of the employees wants to put forward a let me double check this. So they want to put forward a third party look into audit into ABK in terms of their hiring practices, making sure that their wages are now public from now on, the publication on data of relative compensation, promotion rates, and salaried individuals, and an adoption of recruiting, reviewing, hiring, promotion policies designed to improve representation, and particularly an end to the arbitration clauses. Because if anyone knows anything about California law, I learned about this morning, so I'm not going to pretend like I do. But arbitration clauses have been used in these contracts for a very long time now to try and cover up the fact that these companies have been trying to allow information to go public about cases exactly like these. Blizzard knew these were going to come forward. I know that they're trying to end it soon, but these demands I think are entirely reasonable, and we need to side with the workers here.
And if we just got rid of women in the workplace, we wouldn't have any of the sexual harassment. I didn't think that would go over.
Sprout, IRA, and Biggs jumped the gun, but like totally fine, guys. You're all on the list. Tiberius, you got the last word on this, and then we will go into open discussion. Again, I will take a unprecedented stance as the moderator.
I've got 3 daughters. I'm all about equality.
Blizzard Activision seems pretty fucking bad. Unless we all want to do the thing where we say like this is extremely horrible, I would probably request
I'm going to play more devil's advocate on the
in the open about ways to potentially solve this culture or solve like issues of working rights, as Keo or I'm really important brought up, to hopefully make this constructive as opposed to us all being justifiably angry at something that we can all agree is extremely horrific. So
one thing I do want to note is, before I forgot to mention it before, is that this is Activision Blizzard. Afriasabi's name is mentioned on the lawsuit, so that's the one that's getting the most IR. But a lot of these things that were brought up in that case were brought up from Treyarch, from Battle.net.
I mean, technically, yes. If you
from the active that woman that was mentioned by Suicide, she was actually a part of the Activision pit team. She wasn't actually a Blizzard employee. She was part of the Activision production team, I think, right? Activision publishing team. So, like a lot of. Because of the wording of the lawsuit, because of the Afriasabi thing, Activision are getting off the hook. Do not let them. Activision are a disgusting company in and of themselves.
Awesome.
Right, thank
I
you,
try to be
Keo.
as
All
much
right,
of that as
so
possible, but I know
Tiberius,
I don't lift
do
the
your
load as much when
opening
it comes to
statement,
the
and then
children in the
we can
house,
move
but I don't need to
into
do better,
the
but I try to do better.
general part
So.
of the discussion. So go, Ty.
Yeah, as far as this topic's been making its rounds for the better part of the last month, if not the last year, and so at least for me, is I think we're all pretty much on board with the trend here, and so if anyone isn't, or, I'm sorry, if anyone is wanting to defend this, I don't think they belong on this panel or this platform, as far as I'm concerned. So as far as that, can we just move on to section 2 here? That'd be great.
Thank you, Ty, and hopefully we can do that. So we're gonna start with Sprout, and then I'm really important, and then into Biggs. So Sprout, go ahead, buddy.
So something that can be done privately is these lawsuits can be given special attention. These lawsuits can be gone on rapidly. Try to make them go through the court system rapidly. Get the facts as fast as we can get them, of course. Not to let anyone have a disadvantage in court, but to get this going as fast as we could possibly get it going. To make sure this kind of behavior does not continue to exist if the alleged accusations are true. I have no doubt that they're true, but they haven't been proven in court, so I still call them the alleged accusations. And I apologize to anyone that pisses off. But with that being said, I think that privately, these, like I said, that could happen privately and publicly. We could all come to a decision that we will not buy Activision Blizzard games until it's proven that this type of culture is not present in their studios anymore. This would take a hardship on the consumer, especially the consumers that like Activision Blizzard games, or like to pay for the microtransactions in these games. But we can decide to make this decision and continue this push until Activision and Blizzard or any gaming community that does this is forced to, because of money wise, change the way they do things, and to allow a better, much better, I would argue, workspace for all of their employees, not just the women. When you get toxic people out, all of their employees will feel better, because I'm sure that with this toxicity that there were some male employees that felt very, very uncomfortable with what was going on, and they didn't feel comfortable saying anything because they saw what was happening to anybody else who did, and so they just stayed silent. So I feel like this would be a major uplift in the community, and I feel like that would be the way to push forward.
Thank you, Sprout. IRI, Biggs, and then Carl.
Yeah, I guess my question is about the unionization effort here and the feasibility of that. Not to take away again from the horrific work conditions there, but it seems to have spurred this interest in starting a union amongst the employees. And Activision Blizzard hired the same company that Amazon used to break up the unionization effort in Alabama back in April, I think it was. And with the private sector only having about 6% of employees as part of a union, it really feels like unions are kind of taking a huge hit. I mean, it's not a surprise with how weak our labor laws are, but I'd be curious to hear from people on the panel who know more about unions and what's going on there. Like, is it even worth trying, or is it just seems like it's just going to fall flat on its face? The deck is stacked against the people for even trying to start a union, and people will be fired, and Activision Blizzard will get away with some of this stuff with impunity. So curious how that fits into all this.
Right. Thank you. I'm really important. Would anyone like to directly respond to his point before we move around the panel? I saw Keo like his hand shoot up, and then Tiberius. So Keo, Tiberius, feel free to have a back and forth with that.
Sure. So the ability to unionize is governed by and called by, and I'm sure you already know this, IRI. I'm actually almost certain that you already know this, by the NLRB, courted by the NLRA. So we're talking about the National Labor Relations Board, governed by the National Labor Relations Act, which is their entire job is to make sure that those elections
Why are
go
you being
through.
so hard on
So what happens is that
Hanz?
you need at least 50% of the workplace to agree that they're going to unionize and go to what we call them in Australia enterprise
not
bargaining
cutting right
agreements.
now, okay? Leave
I'm
him
not sure
alone.
if there's a different name for those in America. You don't necessarily have to go onto on EBAs, but the case. Now, the NLRA specifically cites that employees shall have the right to self-organization to form, join, or assist labor organizations to bargain collectively through representations of their own representatives of their own choosing, and engage in other concerted activities for the purpose of collective bargaining or other mutual aid or protection, and shall have the right to refrain from any or all such activities, exempt to the extent such that this may be effected in an agreement requiring membership to an allied organization.
I always think he
and
looks like
Section 8
MODOK
of the
from
NLRA
that,
specifically
Marvel
goes
cartoon,
over the fact
or
that
Lego,
businesses
I try to
aren't
be nice.
supposed to be able to interfere with this effort. And the NLRB, whenever it does go over these cases, tends to err strongly on the side of Section 7 of that act. From what this is from my reading over the last couple of days, I could be wrong. So please, lawyers in the chat, double check me. Anyone here listening to me, double check me. It's literally not even my country. Okay, I'm just leveraging my experience as a delegate to this situation here. So double check everything I have to say. I'm not some arbiter of truth here, okay? But from what I understand, like the cases that are brought to the NLRB,
I feel like some of the cameras are just like
and to the council which governs which cases go to the NLRB, favor strongly in favor of that Section 7, right?
I
don't know how a lot of these companies have been able to get away with what they're doing. The issue is in these instances is that they've gone to trigger an election, right? So when it comes to organizing the workplace, you can do it. What's preferred in like a secret method is that you hand out usually like secret union cards here in Australia. You have to be a paying delegate to be a part of that, right? Because we have a very bureaucratic way of going about it. There was an agreement between the unions and the businesses back in like the 60s or 70s from memory. But it's a little bit different in your country. But still, you'll have to have secret union cards that you hand out basically to agree that these people are members of the union. So by the time an election is triggered and governed by the NLRB, that you already have the numbers and you can just hit yes, right? What you do not want, which is what happened to Amazon, which is what's happening at Blizzard, is for that election to be triggered prematurely, right? Because then you have these companies come in and hand out all this propaganda to prevent people, because it's not the business doing it. It's another business. It's the same thing as the way that you all do the election thing, is that you can't actually say we endorse a candidate, but we endorse the policy that they already agree on, and that whole business. It's the same thing here, right?
Tiberius definitely.
So you've got those people saying, "Hey, you shouldn't join a union," and it's like these other things, like you don't need to vote for this, etc., etc. It's that same like freedom of speech law that governs that. It applies here, right? So if you're doing unionizing in secret, the business cannot interfere with that. They cannot interfere with the whole thing. What they can do is represent their interests during the election. So what you want to do ideally is not have these elections be publicized, but a lot of companies have an invested interest in publicizing these elections. And because this was concerted effort in the first place, it wasn't actually consulted by union, for as far as I understand. These people didn't have the experience to sort of organize that. Now the walkout is sick, and it seems like Blizzard actually paying people to, anyone who does walk out seems to get that pay for walking out, which is a good faith effort from the company. But also we've also seen that they don't want that organized place to unionize, that they've organized that firm to do so. So basically the TLDR here is that, like, don't trigger elections if you can very much avoid doing it. And it seems like the data is very strongly inside of workplace unionization. It's just really hard to do without making it public.
Thank you, Keo. I hope that answered some of I'm really important points. Tiberius, would you like to add anything to that before we throw it to Biggs?
Yeah, I was going to take a more nebulous, more historical viewpoint of this, like how unions got to where they were, because the unions at one point were the core of the Democratic Party. It was brought up during the the FDR administration that was going to be the core of the party, and they built the party around that. During the fourth and fifth party systems, that was largely torn down, especially into the sixth. And then, of course, what you have is basically the revolution. I'm sorry, the Reagan Revolution of the 80s, which they just openly go and destroy unions across the board. And by the time you get Bill Clinton in '92, union membership was down by half
always falling asleep.
What you had, 12 years earlier.
Probably from his snore takes that he has.
Can that change? Absolutely, but it looks like no one has been remotely interested in actually picking up the cause of unions.
He knows I'm just giving him a good
Republican or Democrat. I'm going to be partisan for just a second, if I may, and go. One of the things that I am actually very hopeful for when it comes to the Republican Party is that we are now starting to rapidly pick up share in working class voters and in union workers. And if we actually have that,
looks like he belongs
in
a
mold
for like
and I would actually love to
put
in securities for workers and worker protections. So that would be awesome for my team if we can actually pull that one off. But I'll end with that.
Thank you, Ty. All right, we're gonna go to Biggs, then Carl, and then back to Keo if he has like a point that's separate from his answer to I'm really important's question. So Biggs, go ahead, buddy.
Yeah. So what I think they should try to do is use this whole lawsuit with regards to not only the mistreatment of people, but also the there was some about pay discrepancy as well. Kind of use this as a launching off point to try to push the games industry towards unions if that's what they want. I personally am up to. I think if employees want to create a union, I'm all for it. I think if employees don't want to create a union, I'm all for it. But I think that it needs to be their decision and they need to move towards it. I think a lot of these roadblocks that we have put in front of them is kind of ridiculous. And I think that they just need to stick to their guns and do it if that's what they want to do. One thing I do want to keep in mind is, and I don't want to be like fear mongering, but they also have to understand some of the consequences. And I know a lot of this might seem like propaganda for like anti-union stuff, but the fact of the matter is that these do have ramifications. When you have places like California, especially where a lot of these industries are located, they already have super high tax rates. They already have a lot of anti-business type regulations that really make it hard for businesses and put a strain on businesses more so than other states. So I think that adding unions to that as a teetering on the balance, I think that may cause some of these industries to move to other more business-friendly states. Again, this is completely just speculation, but we have seen in the past that this has happened, and I was actually a part of that. I used to work for a shipping company that moved all of its non-essential port business from the shipping industry into Arizona from California because it was much cheaper to have the business located there. And they ended up moving some of the other things like from on the East Coast, everything got moved from New York into Atlanta because it was a much more business-friendly state. So I think there are ramifications to these decisions. But I think if the people want to go for it, I think they should. And I think that it should be up to the people if they want to vote democratically or however that is the process goes. I'm all for whatever they choose to do.
Thank you, Biggs. Carl, then Keo, and then Sprout. So.
I guess I'll riff a little bit off what Biggs was saying, and that is to say, no comment other than Washington is an at-will state. While I'm happy with my compensation, we have no income tax by the state constitution, so it's a very popular place to open your business. We have big problems with housing supply. We have like one of the top rents in the nation. I'm definitely feeling the pain, though I'm well enough compensated that I'm not going to comment further on unionizing. The whole issue is that we need to recognize that this is all people working under capitalism, and as we're under capitalism, the workers at Blizzard are going to suffer from any boycott. You might choose to play different games. You might choose to play classic games like StarCraft 1 and 2, restrain your microtransactions, and unfortunately as well, I didn't have the opportunity to engage in a stock purchase plan. So while I'm not going to say boycott yay or nay, you can see that I wouldn't directly benefit from buying or playing those games right now.
All right. Thank you, Carl. Keo, I'm not sure who it is, but like I'm hearing some like super aggro ASMR keyboarding. So just
I'm sorry, no, that is me. I'm abusing my chat.
All right, so just please be careful.
He likes to bang those keys.
Yeah, I was gonna say. All right, well, don't mute yourself just yet because it's Keo's turn, and then we're going into Sprout. So go ahead, Keo.
Yeah, sure. So there's like a concern here specifically about like unionization and companies like adversity to it. The PRO Act has got to pass basically at this point. The NLRB just needs fucking funding to do its job. So like the NLRB is like appointed by there's 5 people that are appointed by the president. You know what? Fuck it. We're gonna call the whole Supreme Court thing. The NLRB is 5 appointees done by the president, approved by the Senate, right? One of the first thing Biden did was change that appointee because historically you have 2 from each party and 1 from the majority party, right? Just to fucking shit can the Republican ones. Okay, I'm sick of these pro businesses holding out on people. We need more money. We need more unions to get in and do the work because unions. I saw someone I think in the chat like saying like, oh, would unions like necessarily do a better job here? It's like, well, these places have what's the word? Like a duty to their shareholders, the people who are paying their union dues, right? Women do, men do, and in some instances in the past, that has meant the union covering up for men doing really shitty things. But in this instance, it seems to do a significantly better job than whatever the fuck HR was doing when they're sitting in the fucking Crosby suite, right? Like, I can't talk too much more on this in terms of like whatever else, but the important part here is I think that like the concerted action here by the Blizzard employees is like admirable. Concerted action being the term we spoke about, like legal action done by a non-unionized or because you don't need to be a part of a union to raise things up to the NLRB. But hopefully it doesn't mean that they're triggering, and I haven't seen anything about triggering election yet. It's just more so that they were looking into they wanted these parts changed in their award. So that's the difficult part. If they're trying to organize their whole last workplace, it's going to be difficult. They might not win that election, but they might off the back of these charges. So, for example, just going to use like a local example, Chemist Warehouse in Queensland had a sexual assault case come up. That workplace unionized incredibly quickly in response to this, and when they negotiated their EBA, they negotiated a 16% pay rise year over year for the next 3 years, for a total of like 40 something percent overall pay increase, because that's how behind they were on the award. The ability to leverage these issues, it sounds pretty gross. It's weaponizing it because that's the way they do these things. But the fact that like they need to have these HR oversight things in place, the fact that they need to have any of these things in place could be used to create a very strong workplace.
All right. Thank you, Keo. Everyone, I apologize as a moderator. I've been failing in that, like, I haven't exactly been keeping time for all these statements as well as I should. I don't want to. I've been trying to not interrupt people while they're being constructive. I would encourage everyone to try and keep it, like I said, below 2 minutes if possible. But again, I'll try and do a better job keeping time in the future. Hold me to that. I'm sorry. I've been failing you. I've just been engrossed in actually learning about this because I've done some reading in preparation for hosting this, but I have clearly not done as much reading as I needed to. So thank you so much for that, and please be as brutal or gentle with me as you want. So we're gonna go to Sprout, then IRI.
Let me jump in.
Then,
you're doing awesome, Hans. Don't worry about it. You're doing amazing.
Very brief.
That's my bad. I'm sorry. I'm talking too much.
Seattle DSA has endorsed the PRO Act, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
Thank you, Carl. All right, Sprout, IRI, and then into Biggs. So Sprout, go ahead, buddy.
Okay, so I forget who gave this statistic off in their opening statement, but they said that 20% of the workers in 20% of the workers in Activision or Blizzard, I forget which one it was, is women, whereas 80% of the workers are men. According to the CIO, 25% of women are working in tech, and so that's just to back up what I'm getting ready to say is that if women were the majority of Activision and Blizzard, I don't think we'd be seeing these issues. And so to encourage women to follow what they want to do, to go into STEM fields, and to get into gaming, to get into these places, because 20% is fairly close to the amount of women working in tech. So if we get more women into technology, we get more women into gaming, we can see a difference that way. That's something we can do privately. I'm just trying to work towards private public publicly. I'm just trying to work towards private public solutions to this issue. And like I said, the private issue, these lawsuits need to be dealt with. They need to be given special consideration, considering that there is future harm that could be done if we push this off and push this off and push this off. So that's just my ideas, private and public, but I'll end it there.
Thank you, Sprout. All right, Dylan, I see you. We're gonna go to IRI, Biggs, Carl, and then to Dylan. So IRI, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to mention real briefly to Keo. He mentioned the PRO Act, and I don't know if he said that it's gotta pass or it's going to pass, but that thing. What's that?
Got to pass. It's got to pass.
Okay, well, that thing is dead in the water. It'll pass the House, but it doesn't have a chance in the Senate at all. So I wouldn't count on that. And that's unfortunate because the same thing that was done in Alabama is going to be done over out here in California because, like I said, they hired the same firm. They just used the same tricks and scaring people about paying dues and not being compensated, and it's the union's useless and all this scare tactics. I understand your point about the vote
ask a question, but
is what screwed it up, and they had time to work on them and stuff. But I'm not very optimistic. I'm curious about Sprout, though. You sound like you have an issue, Sprout, with there only being 25% women in tech and 20% at Activision. Are you in support of some sort of affirmative action and leveling the playing field somehow by force?
I'm in support of women getting involved in STEM fields. I'm in support of women making sure they're paid publicly. I think that any pay a company gives out should be public information, because not only would it allow to see the equality between men and women, it would also allow for someone who is going in there to bargain for a fair pay. It would allow them to take a look at what other people are being paid and what they should be paid based off of how they pay other employees. And so I'm in favor of all of this being done. But I
Reasonable.
20% is awfully close to that 25%. I don't think it needs to be exactly equal to the percentage of women that are
That's
working in tech currently.
still
But I do think that if
a
you are a
pretty big
woman and you
reduction,
want
to
to
be
work in
honest with you. When
tech,
you're talking
to
from
not let this
25,
be the
that's
reason you
5%,
don't work in
25,
tech, and you might
20.
be the change
That's
in
like a quarter.
in
That's like
the
a
gaming
lot
industry or whatever industry you're
of
trying to get
reduction.
into, to follow what
That
you want to
5%
do
actually
and to not
becomes
let
closer
anyone tell
to
you you can't.
20 to
Well,
25%.
can I
of
just
the
add a
total.
quick follow-up question, Hans?
Of course, you two go as long as you want. If it starts drawing on like 5 or 6 like minutes past, I'll stop you. Don't worry. Like, don't let that like stop you too.
Oh, okay, no problem. I know. I want to let
always
others
the
talk
good
too, but
guy.
I guess what if that information was made public and we're still stuck at 20% women working at companies like Activision, because there are only so many of these companies that you can work at, these gaming companies, and the change just isn't happening? Would you then support some sort of heavy-handed effort by the government to force these companies to bring in more women?
Considering there is laws against women being discriminated against in
I
employment
think it's a
or
little
in
early to
pay
stop. It's in that fight, but
for
oh
the
well.
job that's equal to a male's, I would then do some investigating into the idea that
Sprout's got a big
women
head.
who have the same experience
Anybody
are
else
not
notice
treated
that?
as men who have the same experience, and
Not as big as
investigate into
Dylan's
the
though.
interviews and who they've had them with, why they chose the selected candidate for that job, before I would say government action needs to be had, because I still think that the company is going to hire who they think is best for the company, and I don't think that should be regarding sex whatsoever. I've actually argued before that I don't think sex should be included on employment, and on like interviews or anything you need to do to get an interview. I don't think sex should be included, because I think that is just information that is outside the realm of what they're looking for. I don't believe that any job is going to look at someone and go, yeah, that male or female really changed my decision on whether or not I think you're qualified for the job. It shouldn't, at least. And so with it not being within the scope, I think that male and female should be redacted from employment opportunities.
Fair enough. I guess I would just leave it, and it's a rhetorical question just to think about. Like, why do you think there are so few women working in the tech industry? I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, I. All right, Biggs, Carl into Dylan. Go ahead, Biggs.
Yeah. So
wait, wait, 1 second. Dylan, you seem like disgruntled. Do you want to jump in right now?
Yeah, because I know that somebody can answer that question, and they're right behind you.
Hey, Kat, what's up? Have you been listening?
Yeah, I heard the question.
All right. Can you answer? Can you answer the question?
What question?
What was the question?
Why are there so few women in like STEM and the tech field and stuff like that?
Why are there so few women in the tech field in STEM?
I mean, it's very multifaceted. Part of it might have something to do with the fact that we're often not encouraged to do logical fields, and a lot of us are like told to be more caretakery. Also, we have a really bad leaky pipeline issue because so many people within
I gotta stay on
universities
topic
and
at
stuff don't
hand,
know how to
even
keep
though
their
what
hands
I
to
wanted to say is
themselves,
something completely
as
different.
well
I'll
as
get it at the end. Because Carl
even
is
like within our
next.
faculty,
So I
it's
want to
kind
ask
of
him a
hard
question
to be
as
very
well.
interested in your field when like there's one woman professor. Like my entire physics department only has one woman professor. Yeah, it might just be some of your classmates also make you feel like a fucking idiot. Imposter syndrome is a big thing. Sometimes once you get into the industry, people can be insufferable, and you end up working at places like Activision Blizzard, and you're like, maybe I should just be baking cookies. It's multifaceted.
Thanks, Kat.
No problem.
All right.
Sounds like Hanz needs an independent audit of his hiring practices for his panels.
Hey, All right. We
Wow.
all
Yeah.
right.
I was
All
gonna say,
right.
damn it.
All right.
I continue to dominate the panel
Okay.
game.
Oof. All right. I'm just saying, I've
Bad
had women
pun
on my
is
panels before. There is a woman on the panel right now. She's just in the
Not
background.
only is it
All
no
right.
women,
Isn't
is
that
this
like
all
saying?
white people?
Isn't that like saying I have black friends saying I've had women on my panel
It
before?
is.
True.
Oh,
True.
shit.
Absolutely true. She's on the panel right now. She's right there. Okay, but like aside from like these accusations by a competitor, I'm sorry, there's not a lot of conservative women, and like unless we want like every like panel like be like 3 different women, it means I can't have Keo, it means I can't have Dylan, it means I can't have really important, and I'm really sorry, guys, and I'm trying to make this as balanced as possible, and I have a full-time job on top of trying to do like doing like 20 plus hours on Twitch every week, on top of getting back into competitive powerlifting, and I'm really sorry that I don't have a full-time person like the person right behind me working for me full-time to help build my one panel a week, Dylan. So I really appreciate it. Go ahead, buddy. Go ahead.
So, is this kind of like Disney's first gay character? Katarana's like your first black female guest in the background.
Wow.
Lines.
In the background.
Why is everybody dunking on Hans? Jeez,
I love
Louise.
you, Hans. By the way, can I just be
Hans,
clear?
you're
I believe
amazing. Don't fall
outside of
prey to
my
the haters,
panel-
okay, Hans?
Outside
You're
of my
amazing.
panel, I believe Hans is the next best like panel on Twitter. I think he does fucking great work, and I endorse him as a panel like completely.
I thought about that joke as I was reading that research and waiting to fire that one off. So it's I love Hans. I appreciate the work that he does. I hope it doesn't feel like he does fantastic work with his representation. Normally, I just wanted to drop the meme. Okay.
I appreciate it, and again, I tried to get some women for this panel. I tried. My producers reached out, and we didn't hear anything back. All right. There's a reason why I did some last minute messages to a couple people here on this panel to fill in, because again, we couldn't find the spots, and the same reason that there weren't enough women currently in the industry. I guess there weren't enough women to fill this panel, and I will do everything I can to encourage a good environment for women to feel comfortable on this panel. Kat, do you feel pretty comfortable right now?
Pardon?
She's great.
Sounds
anyway,
like some
so,
misogynistic guilt.
I feel that means we're gonna feel real bad about dropping this one. There's more women in the tech industry than Hans's panels.
Oh shit! Damn! Representation. What?
Damn!
You're the new mind waves, dude.
Obliterating me aside, we are now going to throw it to Carl.
No,
Carl, I
you
swear to
skipped
God.
me, Hans. You
Okay,
skipped
yesterday
me.
on mine were women.
Oh shit! Oh, sorry. Biggs. I'm being attacked on all sides. I'm literally getting gangbanged.
Hans,
Like
I'm like the one that's sticking up for you.
This is a
7
spit
guys
roast.
right now. So I don't even
Joke.
have as many orifices. All right, Biggs.
Now you know what it's like being the Sprouticus. Now you know exactly what it's like
Alright.
being the Sprouticus.
But
So-
I love you, but we are not the same.
So-
all right, go Biggs.
All right, so okay, so it's interesting because this whole topic, both of the misogynistic nature of these like Blizzard and Activision, also ties into the gatekeeping of these STEM fields and areas of more technical or whatever type of industries, right? I think that men, not only do they need to start being more strict on other men when it comes to like harassment, but people need to call out other people for gatekeeping as well. Like, we can't have these people not able to feel comfortable in these situations or in these fields solely because they're female or because they're whatever other minority types. Because I know that's another thing that we have a problem with in the tech industry as well, is it's very white centric. But I think that if we can get past this gatekeeping and try to be more inclusive and things and letting people do what they want to do, because I'm all about like freedom of choice and personal responsibility and getting people to do and succeed in the areas that they feel they can best succeed in. And then finally, I wanted to ask Carl a specific question in regards to the industry as far as the unions go. And I don't know how much you want to get into this, but I want to say, based on that, like, not your personal like one way or another how you feel, but just what you see from the industry as a whole. Do you think that there's an actual chance that this type of thing can actually make it as far as like unionization of like these bigger industry giants like Activision Blizzard, Riot, those type of like higher tier AAA type studios? Do you think that there's a possibility that you would see that actually being a reality or not?
I'm aware of campaigns, and I think that there is an infrastructure of organization that might succeed.
Cool. I'm all for that. I really hope it is, because I think that as much as I, do lean to the right a little bit, I think that worker protections are very important because I think that people deserve to be paid a fair wage. I think that people deserve to have good working conditions, and I think that if we can get these unionizations passed, and I think a lot of you might agree with this, if we can get these type of things passed, we can kind of alleviate some of these problems, or at least have a functional way to help either push out or to actually hold people responsible and accountable for their actions when they do occur. Because I think a lot of it right now is because we have this like frat bro culture in these industries. I think that men feel like they can get away with a lot more than they should be able to get away with because it's all just abhorrent. And like I said, I've got 3 daughters. I don't want them to experience any of this because I will be freaking livid, right? But I think that it's important for us to put people in the right positions to be able to make those decisions. And I think if we can push unions for these industries and they are for it, I think we should push for that and push for as much options that people can have as possible.
Thank you, Biggs. All right, everyone, just a quick thing. 10-minute warning on this one for the closure of this topic, unless anyone just wants to turn this into a roast of me. So we are going to go to Carl now for his own point, and then into Dylan. So, Carl, go ahead, buddy.
I think the roast sounds pretty good
That's
after that joke that's going to be reported to
she
HR.
was at Dylan's house.
Anyways, so I just pasted in the chat this article from 2014, When Women Stopped Coding, and I'm going to put that in a couple chats right now. Essentially, what I know from the computer science industry, women who stick with it are badass. They constantly outperform their peers. They're more
Definitely
professional and have better aptitudes than your average dude in the tech industry. And so the idea that women are not choosing STEM, as you'll see from this NPR and the stats involved in women being admitted and continuing with their careers in computer science, it's been a systematic problem. And I definitely think that we need to overturn that in whatever way is possible. In Washington State, we have this unfortunate thing where we made affirmative action illegal in the late 90s, and it only took us 20 years to reverse that. I think that, and that as I was in university at the time, I understood the problems with hiring within my university department, that we couldn't explicitly look for women to be in the CS department. We had to simply say, well, we'll increase our applicant pool. And that's crap. That's not enough. We need to do some explicit recruitment of, targeted recruitment of women and make that at minimum legal. I mean, you can do essentially what happens right now is you will have a slot open, and in order to make that hire legal, you list it on the website and just say, oh, if someone really badass shows up, they can have the job. But we need to pull some of that legacy bullshit in the favor of women now.
All right. Dylan, you're already on the list and you were next on the list, but I also saw you raise your hand. I kept giving you thumbs up and I just wasn't sure if you were confused or not, but you're welcome to go ahead, buddy. And the Biggs, I see you as well.
I agree with Carl that we need to target women. We must find women and target them endlessly. Target women. That's what Carl said, and I agree with Carl that we must target women. Okay, that's the first thing. I believe. I also want to denounce statements by Mr. Bernie Sanders, well-known sexist, where he said once, and I quote, "America is tired of women," which I think those types of statements is what perpetuates this type of culture in gaming, because he's very popular with gamer Bernie bros on the internet, and I want to make sure that those types of actions and statements are checked immediately. But I'm just really happy that we have a general consensus here on everything. When it comes to unionization and the importance of unions at representing workers, and how diversity in gaming is generally a good thing, because there's a lot of people who want to hold on desperately to the old culture of gaming, of it being a boys club. But personally, I want to see gaming succeed. I love video games. For me, growing up, when I grew up in a broken home, right? And for me, video games was an escape. It was an escape for me. It was something that led me to go into this little fantasy world, so I didn't have to think about like the drugs or the violence or anything that was going on in my personal life. And by having that escape, I was able to transport myself into like what I guess you can call a safe place. And I would like to make that type of stuff available to more and more and more people, more welcoming to more people. And I want to make sure that those people who gave me those childhood experiences that I treasure to this day are treated fairly. I love long games. I've been playing Red Dead Redemption 2. It's a wonderful video game. It's a blast. But you want to know what? I will enjoy that game more without having to have the moral conundrum of thinking about the person behind this game not being able to see their kids and their family so they can enjoy the game with their own kids, enjoy their own game with their own family, and not have to go through what we call like crunch and all that fucking nonsense, right? Because that same stuff we're seeing with the Fritos workers as they protest when it comes to forced overtime is industry standard when it comes to the gaming industry, that you are expected to go through forced overtime. You're expected to have have this type of treatment, and that's terrible. And I think that when we look at games like Cyberpunk and all these other games, which are extremely ambitious and I want more ambition, but Jesus fucking Christ, just be more realistic with your fucking release dates, okay? Just be more realistic with your release dates. I saw, and by the way, don't think it's just the gaming companies, but it's an online culture that encourages it too. I saw the fucking announcement for like
It's a lot of
GTA in
industries that have crunch
2025,
time.
and
I'm
so
gonna bring
many
up my
people were fucking
personal
upset about
version of
that.
crunch,
But when you think about the type of expansive worlds you're gonna see in the GTA universe, yeah, it's gonna take about 4 fucking years to make some like an entire city that you can interact with and play darts. If you're gonna make a city where they make fucking materialize every piss particle perfectly, like that's how
I love the
GTA
piss
rolls.
particles.
Yeah, it's gonna take a little bit
Piss
of
particles
time
are the
if you
best.
don't want to abuse those workers.
Oh my God,
Just wanted
Tiberius
to
just
say
rubbed his sneeze into his
Thank you,
face.
Dylan. All right. We're going to go to
Wait,
Sprout.
wait, I have a quick question.
Oh, yes, I good.
Tiberius, did you just rub your sneeze into your face?
Yes.
Did that just
Yes, I
happen?
did.
Okay, I just want to make sure I
Yes.
saw that
Oh,
correctly.
Jesus.
Because
All
that
right.
was
like,
fucking ridiculous.
That's disgusting. All right. Like, so right now the list is Biggs and Sprout. We have room for one more person on the list before we go to closing statements for this topic. So, Biggs, go ahead. If you want to be that lucky number 3 person and you want to say something before we go to your closer, whoever, like, I'm seeing like quick draw. Go. All right. Go, Biggs.
All right, so yeah, so I think that one of the things that Dylan hit on the head was that like crunch time and things like that. Like there needs to be obviously some expectation from employees. There are certain times where things are expected, right? I work in the accounting field currently. I've worked in the IT field previously. So there are times when you are expected to be under a little bit more strenuous activity. Like for like IT, it's usually during like some type of a conversion. Like I know Carl can probably know about this. Like whenever you are converting any type of IT systems or things like that, or anybody in the IT field knows that. Same thing with accounting. Like during audit time, there's a lot higher version of expectation of being on the clock more often and things like that. But I do agree that we need to have protections in place for employees to know that they are protected in these situations, so that if they are expected to work higher hours, they're compensated for those hours that they're working on top of what they normally would work. But also, I think we also have some type of regard for like the mental health as well. I think a lot of times like that's the bigger issue, is they're pushing these people to the brink. And I think that needs to be something that unions can help facilitate, with saying like if you have X amount of hours worked in a week, there has to be like a maximum, or if it does reach this X amount, then we can have a X amount period off or something like that. But I do think that things like unions are good if they are done correctly. But I think that what the problem that a lot of people have, especially on the right, is when we have things like corruption within the unions. Like I know the auto industry was notorious for that back in the day. Things like that, like the teachers unions are kind of seen as like corrupt for like protecting teachers that shouldn't be teaching anymore. But I think as a new industry kind of pushing towards this with the video games industry, I think we can start anew with a good and I know we posted in the chats there were some good union options. So I think if we can kind of take these and make these like the new union version, where they're actually focused on protecting worker rights and workers ability to earn their living, I think that's what we should focus on, and making it as positive as possible.
Thank you, Biggs. All right, we're going to go to Sprout as the last voice before we go to our closing statements. So, Sprout, floor is yours, buddy.
Okay. First off, I'd like to make a proposal. I haven't heard a lot from Tiberius, so I'd like to offer him his tribute
They
for the
literally
third
just got
for the
literally,
third
I went up to go pee a little bit ago. I got my last beer and
slot
they
you
woke
were
up.
offering. I'd like to offer
They
him
were
his
sleeping.
tribute.
You saw the picture. They were sleeping for the last 2
And I'm doing
hours.
this of my own accord. He didn't message me to offer him his tribute. I'm just offering him to you as myself. Either way, the source that Carl posted, which is the source from NPR that was previously posted in the chat, I will repost it in the chat so everyone is following along. It talks about how this woman in the 80s, I believe, it didn't have computer experience, went into, or didn't have as much computer experience as males, went into a college course. It was shown that she didn't have as much computer experience as males, and she slacked in the course because of the lack of experience. She later on she switched to foreign languages, got a degree in foreign languages. Later on, got a PhD in computers after she found a mentor. I think this source incorrectly discredits women today. Women are just as experienced in computers today as males. I believe that everyone's given it a fair advantage within the computer realm. From the very beginning, computers are very involved. We all have cell phones. We all have PCs. I really haven't met a whole lot of people who don't have a cell phone or a PC and move forward with that. So, like I'm saying, is that this source, if you read into it, that women don't have this experience. You do have this experience, and don't let these kind of stories. I feel like are going to um, disencourage rather than encourage women to go into the tech field because they feel like they have less experience than men,
not disencourage.
which is not the case.
Zach.
I've had some badass women in my Discord actually tell me how to do things in my Discord that I didn't know how to do previously. So this isn't the case whatsoever. And if you are if you are interested in STEM, apply yourself and
Imagine
get
if I
in
stayed
STEM
sober
and
during these debates, how much
change
better
the
I would do.
industry.
Thank you.
Quick response.
Oh, go ahead.
So my quick response is, your argument is just move, and I don't think that's enough. We need to do something systematic to encourage women to participate.
Have I not argued with
computers
systematic before?
and in the video game industry?
Did I not argue systematically that these
No,
losses need to be
no.
taken care of in
You
the
said
entire? Okay,
just
so
I
move.
love Barry.
All
so
right,
the
all right.
entirety of my
Making it
arguments,
individual.
the entirety of my arguments have been
Barry.
completely ignored in this.
All right, Sprout, you're welcome to defend yourself more in closing statements, and Carl, you're welcome to blast him more. Tiberius, I'm giving you like 30 seconds to respond to what Sprout said to you earlier
I feel bad
before we
for
go to closing
Tiberius in
statements,
this
and it's
panel.
your
He
closing
didn't really do
statement. So
much.
this won't be
I
like
feel
respond
he
to Sprout
kinda got-
first,
like,
and
he
then
had
I'll
a
give you
couple
the
good
closing.
hitters.
So go ahead.
All right. So as far as
But
my
I know he
response
didn't really
to
care about
Sprout,
the
hey,
second
look, I
topic as
totally
much.
understand you volunteering me, dude, but that's not your choice, dude. And hey, just because I'm a right winger that went against you, dude, hey, I make no apologies for going my own way, and thinking the things that I do. And if you have a problem with that, well, guess what? Be a better right winger. Anyway, as far as my thoughts on the closing statement,
Was that
Rhinos
to
unite.
me? Was that
as far as my closing thoughts on this, I wanted to get a little bit more into unions, but it looks like we're all agreeing on that. Unions are interesting because they're not official or openly bipartisan at this point, but it's right now, depending on the stats you're looking at, somewhere around 60-40 to 50-50. And I've seen different exit polls regarding union voters.
I don't know.
But right now, even when they have bipartisan support, they're not getting any help. And so that's very disconcerting. And I would be very interested to see where this one goes. I want to detach that a little bit, but aside from that, if we can bring them into the right-wing coalition and have be the champions of the workers and lower income people, that would be fantastic. I'd love to see that coalition form out, because I think that actually has a future for the right wing. And I've been pandering to this for quite a while because I think it's the only way forward for us. But until then, I've been Tiberius D. Thanks for inviting me to this wonderful panel, and I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you, Ty. All right. Keo, I wasn't timing Tiberius, but he kept it pretty short and sweet. Same thing for everyone else. Try and keep this under a minute 15, unless you have something demonstrably important that cannot be contained in the span of 45 seconds. So, Keo, go ahead, buddy. You're muted.
Fuck me. So quick note on right wing unions, right wing unions. The right wing had their opportunity with the unions. The coalition that backed Trump was pretty unilaterally white, working class, and unionized. Funnily enough, Hillary lost that vote. He had 4 years to get the unions behind him, and he consistently favored erred on the side of business. Consistently, over and over. Had a chance to create an NLRB that actually cared about unions. Had a consistent chance to pass legislation that would have cared about workers. Didn't. Chose not to. Could have repealed right to work himself. Didn't. Chose not to. Consistently erred on the side of unions, on the side of business, over and over and over with the way he did tax cuts. And it seems like Biden has done a very good job of getting behind the unions, and so he should. One of the first actions he did was to replace the position on the NLRB. One of the big agendas he's been pushing is the PRO Act, right? Is the ability to get rid of right to work, which unions have been screaming about for years and years and years. Their team is backing him. It's a very good thing, right? So union power needs to happen more so in the United States. Opinions of unions have gone up over time. They should not be bipartisan. Unions should not be bipartisan, but they unfortunately are, because the people in the right wing, the Republican Party, has consistently erred on fucking them over and over and over again, just like they've done to minorities, who is a camp that should be in their camp. Because they just consistently want to fuck them over and over and over, because their white base wants to get behind them to do that. Because they lose their white base, they lose their pro-business base if they back the unions properly. I would love to see a right wing that actually gets behind the unions, so we can go on just to talk about other positions, but they never will, because they're consistently intrinsically held to fuck them over.
If they were all unionized, wouldn't they be majority white?
All right, Biggs.
Yeah, so I had something to say, but then I was a little bit confused by what Kyo-san was saying. But I think that as a whole, for the country, I think that unions can, when you use correctly, are amazing. I think that workers' rights are something we should all strive for. I think equal pay is something we should all strive for. I think that having people be kind of like the masters of their own destinies, especially when you're considering that they're trying to negotiate with big corporations and things like that. So I think all those things make unions great. I think that as far as the industry goes that we're talking about specifically, I think that we still need to be very aware of the repercussions that these decisions may have. I do have a concern for the people that are currently working for these industries, especially in California, if they do decide to unionize and these businesses may be going elsewhere. I think that, Texas is one of the, favorite spots to go to. Same thing with Arizona. I think there's a whole plethora of states where businesses tend to kind of flee California to, right? We've seen this in the past with a lot of other industries, but I think that as long as the people are understanding all the repercussions, all their choices, and what their options are, I think if they can democratically decide what they want to do, I am 100% behind them. As far as the whole issue with the harassment and stuff like that, like I said before, I have 3 daughters. I want this completely rooted out of society as much as possible. I think it's up to us as men, especially, and I know almost everybody on here would agree, and I think they probably would do it themselves, to stand up to men who are toxic. I think that if you are making comments to women inappropriately, a lot of the things I was kind of surprised with some of the links we had in the Discord chat of some of the examples from actual people that worked at these companies. I think it was just completely ridiculous. And I think that there was a lot of people that just let it happen and were complicit. And I think if we change that and make those complicit people be active participation in actually changing the culture, I think that's the first step to actually making real change from the ground up and having everybody being personally responsible for not only what they do, but also calling out when they see things that are bullshit. And I think if we can do that all around, no matter what party you are, I think that completely makes 100% a positive outcome in society as a whole.
Thank you, Biggs. All right, Sprout.
So, to Carl, as to what he said, and saying that I was saying just move, I said this article serves to discourage rather than encourage women to get into the STEM field because it shows it implies
I don't know how
that
much
women
I was
do not
trying to
have
stay
as much
on the actual
experience
topics
in
that we
STEM
had.
as
I think
much
a lot of
as
the other
guys
panelists
do,
were going kind of off
which
the
I
rails.
would think would
But
be
I
false
think for
in
what the
today's
topics
age.
were, what my points were, I think I
And
did
to
well.
go further
I
into
think I got my
that,
point
my
across.
sister has got her associate's degree in graphics design and is going back
Hopefully
to
you
get her
guys
bachelor's
agree.
degree in
I don't know,
graphics
I'm gonna
design.
probably talk to you a lot
When
of
the
you in
college
the
she's going
Discord
back to won't
afterward.
accept her previous associate's
But
degree,
you guys are all
she's
amazing. Thanks for
she's
hanging
having
out
to start
tonight. I
over
really appreciate
at
it.
freshman year. So I'm very proud of her. I'm very proud of the work she's
guys are all
doing
amazing.
and going into the STEM field and not letting people tell her she can't. And with that being said, there's some talk about unions. That the Republicans are against unions. The Republicans aren't against unions. The Republicans are against being forced to join a union. So typically, when a company is unionized, that every employee is forced to join that union, and that is the part we're against. If it was optional to join the union, I think you'd see a lot more Republicans be behind this idea. So basically, the union should be able to compete in the market against the government, and the government should not be the monopoly of solving this. With that being said, what Activision/Blizzard has done is
Damn.
absolutely disgusting. Time.
I'm watching the replay of the Uriah Hall.
Sorry, if you have any the last statement, I don't mean to super cut you off, Sprout.
Whatchamacallit?
Okay, so what Activision/Blizzard has done is
Forgot the
absolutely
middleweight guy.
disgusting. It deserves
Basically,
to be in
Uriah
these
Hall was
lawsuits.
fighting,
These
he
companies
checked
and
the kick of-
individuals
I forgot the
deserve
fighter's name.
to face
But it was
legal
somebody who had a
repercussions
kick
for their
that broke his
actions,
leg, the other
and
person,
this
and
needs
he
to
broke
be
his leg, and
done
it was crazy.
swiftly to ensure that this company morale does not continue to go this way.
Thank you, Sprout. All right,
Hall's pretty baller.
IRI.
Quick question: should we be plugging our channel and stuff at the end of our statement?
I was going to say yes, but like no one seemed to do it. That's my fault for not like saying that first. We can the people who haven't plugged. We can definitely plug you
We'll
at
do
the
another
end.
round. That'd be good.
Yeah.
Probably.
Oh Jesus! Another circle jerk. But like yeah, if IRI, Dylan, and Carl want to just like finish their thing with any plugs they want to do, that's totally good. So IRI, go ahead, buddy.
Cool. Okay. So I'm actually pleasantly surprised to see all the righties on the panel being pro-union, pro-worker. That wasn't the case not too long ago. Not you guys individually, but just in general, the right was kind of right to work. I mean, that was the pretty standard thing that, you shouldn't be able to tell me I have to join a union and all that. I'm not saying you guys are against right to work or anything like that, but I haven't heard this sort of argument before from the right. So it is heartwarming to say the least. But to touch on your first question, Hans, I think you asked, what can we do about this? And I think we actually can do something. We don't work at Activision, we don't work at Blizzard, but we work here at Twitch on the platform as content creators. And there's a lot we can do. We can push certain voices to the front because Twitch is even worse than Activision and the tech industry. I mean, if you look at the top 100 followed channels, it's mostly guys and a few women sprinkled in there. So I think the responsibility is on us to actually share our platform and push some of these people to the front. And that comes everything from bringing people to share your space, not just on a panel, but just on your channel. Like, come on my channel and talk to me, and let's plug your channel, to rating, to even custom alerts. Like on my stream, I have a custom alert for ICO rules. And little things like that, I think, start to share the space and give other people a voice, because we almost have to force it in that regard. And it's something I hope to see improve in the future. But it's a tough reality that we're in right now. But there's plenty of stuff, even for us chatters and stuff to do. So trust me, we can all contribute to the solution. And then as far as my channel, thanks again, Hans, for having me on here. I really appreciate it. And thank you to everybody on the panel. I think it's been a lively, fun discussion, and I've learned a few things for sure. And I go by I'm Really Important. I talk politics on my channel, mostly focus on Capitol Hill, what's going on in the House and the Senate. This infrastructure bill is exciting. There's tons of drama around it, so we're keeping a close eye on that. And this Tuesday, we've got Nina Turner's race and a Republican race, too, to see if Donald Trump is still the kingmaker. So I'll be shoutcasting that on Tuesday night on my channel.
Sounds good. And you're always welcome back, and thank you so much for being here. And I'm Really Important has inspired me, and Dylan started the fire of this conversation, so I want to give more women voices on Twitch. So I'm going to replace Dylan's closing statement speaking time with Katarana, just to make sure that women are heard and women have a
Bravo,
voice
sir. Bravo.
on Twitch. So go ahead, Kat.
Okay, hello. So we're talking a lot about like women in the tech industry, and as somebody with a vagina that can do math, I think I have the
He's
most
muted.
experience here. So yeah, First of all, when I heard Sprout
I love
say
Hanz.
that, like,
Hanz is
now
so
a lot
good.
of the issues are going
Hanz
to
is
be
the
mediated
greatest,
because women
panel,
have PCs,
panel
no, that just means that the bar is now pushed further. Now, when I get into Java classes, they expect I already know a bunch of Java. They yes, they know that I can use a computer, but that's not like the basics of where we're starting anymore. A lot of people are asking questions in
so
my
funny.
tech classes about like, hey sir, is this really similar to like this other language, or what's the best compiler? Is it Eclipse or Anaconda? And I'm like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? And like now we're further propagating
good.
imposter syndrome, but now just for the next generation. And like, yeah, having a PC hasn't
I really don't know what the fuck
alleviated a
she's
bunch
talking
of the
about,
issues
but I
that we
love
have in terms
Katarana.
of
I love
imposter
Hanz.
syndrome
They're
for
amazing.
STEM. And as in terms of like the whole leaky pipeline and the issues happening in Activision, I mean, a unionization is really cute and all, and like sure, getting together and like unionizing to try to make
Really
sure that
cute
people
and
are
all,
like
I like
having
that
proper
take.
work-life balances is nice. But like a work-life balance isn't going to eliminate a lot of these systemic issues within Activision Blizzard of making sure that people aren't really fucking touchy.
That's
And a
why
lot
we
of
need
what needs
people
to
to
be
stand
done
up to
is
other
that we need to
people.
have like a more
We need
equalized
people to
workspace
fucking
in
talk.
which it's not just like a
We need
sausage
to
party
have
and like a
people,
couple of women peppered
whenever
in
you
just
hear
for that
shit
like
that's
six
bullshit
quota.
and
We
you
need to
don't
actually
agree
create
with
spaces
it,
that are
you
like
have that. Everybody
more
has that fucking
equal
thing in their
for
mind
both genders
where
to
they
come in and
fucking
feel
say,
comfortable.
"Hey, this
And a
isn't
lot
quite
of
right."
different ways that you can do
fucking
that
call that
is
shit
like
out.
by
Do
changing the
it.
culture
No
of
matter
a
what
workplace,
situation you're
because
in,
quite often STEM
obviously,
workplaces
like, don't be
often
fucking rude
just are
about
like,
it or
hey, we're
aggressive
gonna
about it, but
all
like say,
get
"Hey,
together and do something as like a
fuck off."
group. Who
And most
wants
of the
to
time they'll
get
be so
drunk, which is
humiliated they'll
not
fucking
safe
stop right
for
there.
women. And there really needs to be like just things as small as that, just making sure everything isn't like a get wasted party could very
Get
much make women
wasted.
feel a lot more comfortable in a
I
workplace.
love get wasted
Making
parties.
sure
They're my
that
favorite
people
kind of
know
parties.
like not to touch others, making sure that your HR reps aren't also molesters. There's a lot of things that
Ooh.
need to be done within the
Yeah.
workspace, and just saying like, hey, well, I don't know,
That's
there's
crazy.
PCs now, so I think that the men's STEM gap is going to get closed. That's not all we need to do to actually make progress, and a lot of it has to do with marketing and a lot of other things. But first of all, let's just start with the PC isn't going to fix it. So yeah, my name is Dylan Burns. You can check me out on Dylan Burns TV. I go by Dylan Burns, and my apparently
Dylan gets hosed
my
again.
pronouns are homo. So yeah,
Dylan
there you
gets
go.
hosed
Oh Jesus!
again.
All right. So now we're gonna give it to the real Dylan Burns. Thank you for being a good sport. Feel
Do I
free
get
to
to
give your.
respond?
No, it's
So-
closing statements. Like
I just
go,
wanna-
go,
I just
Dylan.
wanna
Okay, it's
say-
unusual for someone to go after someone directly.
Anyway, Dylan, go ahead. It's your closing statement. I really appreciate you. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's okay. I saw that she was wearing a Destiny hoodie. So, yeah, that's a very interesting person you picked. Somebody who supports a really interesting individual who engages in a lot of stuff on the internet. Just a thing I noticed. Just wanted to bring that up and how you prioritized the voices of white conservatives like
Oh,
Sprouticus
shit.
over queer individuals like me. I just find that all very interesting as you're trying to run this diverse panel. I mean, maybe I should retract my endorsement. I don't really know for sure. I mean, you know. Oof. Besides that, I just want to say that I went to Mark Warner's house and banged on his door and yelled at him to support the PRO Act. Technically, that might be a crime. But you know what?
Admitting to
Sometimes we need
crimes
to
on
do
the
things
internet.
like
I love
that.
it.
Harassment is okay when they're public officials and it's for stuff that's cool. So yeah, don't be a scab, and fuck Amazon for breaking the law in the Tennessee election. Have a good one.
All right, thank you, Dylan. And then Sprout, you've been on my panels before. Again, like this is closing statements, so like people don't get response to things said during closing statements. I'm really sorry about that. If you want to debate any of these lovely people afterwards, I'm sure you can like hop in each other's DMs in a very
He's excited to
consensual
yell at
way.
women.
Like yeah. All right,
I understand that. I understand that, but it's also unusual for someone to come in and directly attack somebody and what they said
Oh
for
my God,
2
Zach,
minutes,
shut
a minute
up.
and a half, and for that person not to be able to say anything, considering the closing statements that person has already said is over with.
Oh, you're
White
so
marginalized
butthurt. Get
conservative
over it,
voices.
dude.
Get
Hans.
over
And,
yourself.
I was just trying to like give voices to more
Yes.
women, more people of color.
Hey,
Hans,
and
I respect that, Hans.
lambasted for like trying to make the panel more diverse.
No, you're
I
amazing,
don't-
Hans.
Thank you. All right, so we're gonna go to Carl for the actual closing statement, and then we'll do another little round for Tiberius, Keo, Biggs, and Sprout to
No,
let
I'm
Sprout
done.
know that
Have
he
a good
isn't
night.
silenced. Good night. So they can plug all their shit,
This
and
has
so
been
Sprout
so
knows
fun.
that he is not uniquely persecuted in this in this panel. I love you. All right, go on,
so
Carl.
good.
Do your
All right. Well, I'll respond to a few questions because it really is relevant. Crunch in the video game industry is kind of still standard. We saw that with CD Projekt Red. Workers in the games industry as well are much less well compensated than in IT in general. Profit sharing is not always available. Thanks, Dylan, for recognizing the works that goes into games. I want to recognize that there are great things being done by some of the people still at Blizzard and people elsewhere in the industry and Blizzard alumnus, like the people at Dreamhaven and Improbable. You folks are rad. I miss you, and I wish we could work together in the future. If something terrible happens to my job right now. I try to represent players in what I do. I like to make whatever financial decisions that are required of me better to the gamers out there. So you recognize you have this individual bargaining position, and at work, I hope that all of us workers know that we have individual bargaining positions at the moment, because protections, our legal protections, are not always the best.
Looks fucking mean tonight.
And the final thing is,
Fucking
well,
mean.
if you don't think that we should be able to respond to bad arguments at this point in the conversation, too bad. Have better arguments. And I recognize a very familiar pattern here. Talking about race is racist. Talking about gender is sexist is not a really great argument. So I'm keeping it to the arguments there as well. Mike Selinker is an absolute legend in the Seattle games industry, and he made some great arguments when it comes to the rotten leadership that has been involved in responding to this lawsuit. So I'm going to go share that article. It stands on its own as a response to the Blizzard lawsuit response.
Thank you, Carl. And then just quickly, like a helping plug, Biggs, Keo, Sprout, all shout yourselves out because we all. Oh yeah, and follow Carl. Carl, get link your shit.
I forgot to shout myself out. My thing's right there. YesTV.org goes to my YouTube. You can find me at Your Environment Seattle on Twitch. I am a extreme specialist. I really care about the environment, and that means supporting nuclear energy. I'm looking for someone who's boneheaded enough to go against me on this, but it's really hard to find anyone to debate me on nuclear.
If you want to talk nuclear, we can talk nuclear. I'll have a discussion about nuclear. I'm not wholesale against nuclear, but I'm for minimizing its use as much as possible that we need to.
Ooh, yeah. And you're in Australia where it's been illegal since like the 60s.
Yeah. And we also have one of the biggest uranium mines.
All right. I'll have you both on a chess timer debate sometime next week if you guys want to debate about that. Biggs, shout yourself out. My favorite, my cuddliest conservative, who has the second best bear on a Twitch panel, because I love your
Barry.
Your Barry is good, but like I gotta say, Papa is the fucking champion. Look at that fucking
That's
beautiful
awesome.
bear back there. Yeah, you're goddamn right it is. All right, go
on, you can find me at twitch.tv/BIGGZ8500. Same thing on Twitter and YouTube. I'm a center right libertarian for the most part. My biggest thing is I want to find real solutions to real problems. I think that this conversation was very good tonight. I think that we had a lot of agreement, which is good. I think that is kind of like what we have for the whole thing. Like most people want the same things, especially like people in the middle, people like the normal Americans, right? We kind of have the same ideas of what we want to see happen. We have a lot of this fringe dichotomy that goes on, but I think when it comes down to it, we want the same things. We want the same success. We want people to be able to achieve what they can achieve. And I also want to thank Hanz for having this panel. It was amazing. You're one of the best panel hosts out there. I don't want to be too, I don't want to throw shade on Dylan, but I haven't been on Dylan's panels yet. I'd like to be on there eventually, but yeah, Hanz, you're amazing. All the content creators on here, you guys are all amazing. I watch all of you all the time. IRI, Dylan, Sprouticus, Kyo-san. I haven't watched Carl. Sorry, but I haven't watched you. But I have seen you in the Discords around, so I know what your views are. And I was super interested in what you had to say about the whole insider information. I thought that was very cool, and I think that that's amazing. And I'm wishing you the best of luck. And everybody, follow all these people, sub to all these people. They're all amazing. And thank you very much for your time. And you guys are all fucking awesome.
Thanks, Biggs. Kyo.
Okay, yeah, so I'm Kyosan, like I mentioned before. I do union shit. We look at philosophy and politics on my channel, which I will plug in the chat. Kyosan AU on Twitch, on Twitter, we've got brand unification. You know, it's the same across all platforms. If I'm there, it's Kyosan AU. By the way, Republicans still didn't support her on the side of Labor after instituting right to work laws. So that was a very silly point. Just want to ending it there. Done.
All right, thank you. And then you and Sprout are welcome to debate about labor laws and all sorts of stuff like that whenever you guys want.
I've got you. I'm hungry. Okay,
Katarana as well. Everybody follow and sub to Katarana, okay? She called me out in chat, okay, Hans? I'm sorry. I have to say it. Katarana was amazing. And you guys, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to not include her, considering that we are specifically talking about women in industries, and I totally fucking dropped the ball on that. I'm sorry, Katarana. You're amazing, and just fucking everybody sub to Katarana's channel.
Narrowly avoiding the jaws of cancellation. So we and now we're going to give to the single most oppressed minority, young white Christian men, and I want to give Sprout a chance to defend himself and plug anything he wants to plug. I'm sorry for silencing you earlier, buddy. Lick all your shit. Say what you want to say.
No, don't worry about that. I'll just invite Katarana to go onto my stream afterwards. I'll still be streaming. I will DM you the link to my Discord to talk to me if you are willing to talk about this. But I am the Spraticus. You can find me on Twitch and Twitter. Same name. It is the Spraticus. And if you liked my takes or if you hated my takes, come give me a follow, and you can either listen to me give great takes, or you can make fun of me for what you think are horrible takes. But either way, that follow helps me out a lot, and it helps the channel out a lot. So fun. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, Sprout. Thanks for being a good sport to my bullying. I normally don't attack panelists, but I gotta say, Dylan started the aggression. I've been on fire all night.
He always starts the aggression.
I know.
Don't let him. Don't let that beautiful face fool you. Okay. That devilishly good looks, young, devilishly good looks.
One thing I will say is we've got like a bunch of negativity. Sometimes we all dunk on each other. It's pretty fun. Dylan's drip is on point tonight. Straight up. Love it, King.
It. I know. He's beautiful. All right, everybody. Thank you all so much.
It's okay.
Thank you, Hans.
Thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you for having us, Hans.
Thanks for no problem. Thanks everyone so much for being here. Thanks Carl and Keo for bringing their specific knowledge on this topic. It was super cool, super based. Dylan, who left, I love you. I really appreciate you being here, man. You were awesome on the first part of the panel. Carl, love the hammer, fucking piece of shit. I'm really important. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you for doing the reading as well. Really appreciate your takes on the first part. If there's ever any particular news issues, feel free to let me know. I'm happy to bring.
Thank you all for hanging out tonight.
Cuddliest conservative. Sprout, you're my second favorite conservative, only because Biggs is so cuddly. But I love you anyway, dude, and I respect the hell out of you. And Keo is my best boy, and everyone should give Keo a big follow there. So thank you all so much.
Thank you all for hanging out. I'm going to end the stream right now. You guys were all amazing. I'm going to get into my friends' Discords and have a good time, but you guys have a good one. I'm going to raid Stardust. Trying to raid Stardust. Thank you all.